Hi, good morning. You're welcome to The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 City FM, also live on ChannelOne television. We're also live across the globe on socials, and we'll be happy to have you join us. As always, the show is live and interactive, The Big Issue. You can join us via our WhatsApp line 020-444-7033, 020-444-7033, or 0549 986 996, 0549 986 996. We have three key issues on the plate for you this morning. The first one has to do with the ambulance procurement trial, where the Court of Appeal acquitted and discharged the accused persons or the appellants in that case. Now that accused persons have been acquitted and discharged, what next? The AG has served notice that he will appeal the decision. We don't know whether the notice of appeal has been filed yet, but he has served notice that an appeal will be filed, and that means that the matter may not be over yet. But as we speak, the Court of Appeal has made a decision, and that ends the matter for now. The accused persons, Ato Forson and Richard Jakpa, are free men, and so they do not have to return to the trial court to continue with the trial. As you may know, the third accused person has subpoenaed some officials from the military and other places who were testifying before the court. And after all of that, the court will put the evidence together and then give a judgment whether the accused persons were guilty or are guilty or not. But all of that will happen no more, at least for now, that the Court of Appeal has decided that that should be the end of the matter, because the prosecution failed, in their view, to make a case against the accused persons. The submission of no case to answer that was dismissed by the trial court judge was set aside, and the accused persons acquitted and discharged. A lot of commentary, a lot of reaction has come from this. Today we'll look at the judgment and we'll look at the reactions that have come therefrom. Your views, as always, important. We also look at the matter of the Achimota Forest. If you recall, about 2 years ago, there was the EI 144 that sought to reclassify the Achimota Forest and took huge portions of it, gave it back to the Owu family, who were the pre-acquisition owners of that particular stretch of land. There was public fury, there was a lot of discussion, and that process was put on ice. Now, it has come to light that in 2023, just a year after that, there was another EI that is sought to reclassify, of course, not in the same measure, huge portions as well, about 260 acres of the Achimota Forest to be given back to the Owu family. This is generating some discussion as well, and on this program today, we will look at that. Why should government be so intent on reclassifying the forest and giving same back to the family, the pre-acquisition owners? We do not know whether compensation was paid, but some information in some quarters suggests that compensation was paid. We do not know, and that is a matter for the state and the family to deal with. But for now, the concerns are that the Achimota Forest, located in the center of town, is critical. It's like the lungs of Accra, and once you reclassify them, give it to the family will sell same to private developers, and that space, that green belt, will become a place of a lot of development and construction. All across the world, countries are working very hard to retain their forest belts. Why will Ghana be interested in giving it away? Remember that Galamsey is doing a lot of havoc to our forest reserves, because now people mine in forest reserves with impunity. Should we leave the Achimota Forest to go that way? It is the lungs of Accra, many people have said. And given the nature of activities in Accra, experts have said, needs a place which would take in the carbon dioxide and release oxygen for our consumption. And the Achimota Forest has been doing that all these years. We will also look at the issue. So we have the ambulance trial. We have the public furore over the presidential EI to declassify the Achimota forest. And also, the government has instituted a district road improvement project, which we call the DRIP project. People have said it's a laudable program, indeed it is, but concerns have been raised about the cost of the project. Should we focus on the cost and leave the essence of the project itself? People have said that we have bad roads in our communities, and this is government's response really to deal with that. Why are we raising other issues? But also, is accountability and transparency not important? Are these not tenets of the democracy? And should people go to the RTI or use the RTI route to get simple answers, such as the cost of the project? We'll look at all of this today in our discussion. My name is Selom Adunu. I'll take a short break. I'll return, provide you some updates, introduce my guests, and we'll get a discussion underway. This is The Big Issue, your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. We'll be right back. Hi, you're welcome back. This is The Big Issue. 3 key issues on the table. We'll look at the Court of Appeal decision, ask what is next now that the accused persons have been acquitted and discharged. Also, we'll look at the matter of the reclassification of the Achimota, declassification of the Achimota forest, the public furor over same, and the call by CSOs and well-meaning people that the forest should be left as it is to remain the green belt and to remain the lungs of the capital. Why will government want to declassify it? Was compensation paid or not? And what can government do about that? Is the best thing right now to declassify it and give portions of it to the family? The family, mind you, will sell it most likely to developers, and that whole space may become a place for development and buildings, denying the capital of a green belt, which will absorb the carbon dioxide and release oxygen, which we need for our survival and consumption. We also look at the issue about the DRIP, the District Roads Improvement Project. A laudable project, many have said, to help deal with potholes and bad roads in our communities. Government is committed or is giving to every district assembly across the country a number of machinery or a number of tools, bulldozers, wheel loaders, etc., to help them deal with some petty problems with roads within their jurisdiction. But the issue about cost has come up. Why is government slow in releasing the cost of the project? Is there anything we should know that we are not being told? The minority is using the RTI route to get information on the cost of the project. Given that it's a laudable program, many have said that the cost should have come even at the launch or commissioning of the program. We'll look at all of that this morning. But for now, the Court of Appeal has acquitted and discharged Dr. Kesel Atuforsen and Richard Jakpa in the ongoing ambulance trial, ambulance purchase or procurement trial. This essentially ends the prosecution of the two at the High Court, which started in 2021. The Attorney General has, however, served notice of challenging the decision of the Court of Appeal. There is more in the following report.
The acquittal follows an appeal on the High Court ruling on application for submission of no case filed by the two accused persons, Dr. Kesel Atuforsen and Richard Jakpa. The said ruling instructed the accused persons to open their defense. The Court of Appeal, however, by a 2-1 majority, overturned the decision of Justice Ifyasewa Asariboche. The case against Dr. Atuforsen was that, as Deputy Finance Minister without authorization, he requested for the issuance of the letters of credit that guaranteed payment for the ambulances under certain conditions. The trial judge, after the prosecution closed its case, concluded that a prima facie case had been made against the accused. They ought to open their defenses. But at the Court of Appeal, the court noted that the finding by the judge was, amongst other things, ambiguous, lacked logical connection between the evidence and the finding of the court. The trial has been one of enormous interest to the public. So was the decision of the Court of Appeal. ChannelOne News thus approached the Judiciary Committee of Parliament for comments, as Dr. Kesel Atuforsen is a leader in Parliament. Chairman of the committee and a member of the Minority Caucus, Cletus Avoka, described the decision of the court as heartwarming. He, however, called on Dr. Kesel Atforson to focus on the 2024 polls.
We congratulate the minority leader, Dr. Atforson. We think that he's an honest man. He's a parliamentary candidate, and then we think that he should take time off and then go and campaign and win his seat, and then also let John Mahama win the flag bearership. He shouldn't worry himself doing any other thing.
He, however, believes that officers of the incumbent NPP government who have failed to ensure the ambulances are utilized must be held to account, including the Attorney General.
They have not been used just because somebody decided that let me do some other people in rather than make use of them. A fellow should be brought to account for even when the case was going on, they could have been put to use. They could have been, worked on and then put to use, because this is Mother Ghana's money.
I surmise that the person who should be answered should be part of this current
government. We now go back and then check those. How many years now? 8 years that they have been in power, and then they ought to have put the ambulances to use, even if they lacked certain parts, etc. They should have been able to bring them and then show to the judge that these are new parts that we are bringing. We don't want to waste the money further, and then make use of them. They have to answer for that.
Meanwhile, the ranking member and NPP MP says the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame has done no wrong.
Attorney General represents Ghana, the people, like we represent the people. So when there's anything against the state, it is the Attorney General who ought to do thorough investigations and then put it before courts. When he's not, if he takes his evidence to the court and the court thinks otherwise, he has not lost anything. But people should understand that the Attorney General represents government of Ghana.
The Attorney General, on his part, has rejected the decision of the Court of Appeal, describing it as perverse. In a statement, he revealed intentions to appeal at the Supreme Court. His deputy, Diana Asunabadapa, in an interview with ChannelOne News, revealed that their outfit is confident in getting the Court of Appeal decision overturned.
While we respectfully taking the decision of the Court of Appeal, it is without prejudice to our unambiguous dissatisfaction of the decision, in the sense that we find it as perverse to the fight against impunity and abuse of public offices. So with respect, while we accept the decision, we also unambiguously express our dissatisfaction, and also that is why it is the position of this honorable office that we shall appeal the decision at the Supreme Court.
She, however, urged Ghanaians to end attacks on the judiciary, considering the praises that the decision has attracted.
We're happy that now certain persons that were attacking the judiciary have had a volte-face position now and are praising the judiciary. And that's the beauty of democracy, that we in the legal fraternity, it will be very unwise of us to think that there cannot be a different position by even different levels of the court. And so it is my hope that with the now turnabout praises that we are given the judiciary, we'll maintain that whenever even cases go against us. Because clearly, in any given case in court, almost always there's one party that the decision goes in favor and one that it doesn't. And so we should understand, first of all, democracy. We should understand how the judiciary works.
Well, so that was a report put together by my colleague Hansen Ajiman, our court correspondent, following that decision by the Court of Appeal, acquitting and discharging Atforson and Richard Jakpa, who were accused in the matter, and indeed appellants in the case at the Court of Appeal. That appeal was occasioned by the decision of the trial court, chaired by, or the trial judge in that matter was Justice Efua Sewa Bochwe, who is actually a Court of Appeal judge sitting as an additional High Court judge. She dismissed the submission of no case to answer filed by the appellants or the accused in the matter. The accused, being aggrieved with that decision, appealed to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal this week came out with a decision that indeed the trial court erred in dismissing their submission of no case as filed, the Court of Appeal's view is that the prosecution failed to make a prima facie case against the accused persons, which would warrant the opening of their defense. The way these things work is that if the prosecution finishes its case or concludes its case, closes its case, as we say, the court will make a determination whether a prima facie case has been made against the accused. If the court decides that yes, a prima facie case has been made, the court will then go ahead and ask the accused to open his defense. If the court finds that no prima facie case has been made, the court will dismiss the prosecution's case and acquit and discharge the accused. That was what the accused initially wanted the trial court to do, but they couldn't get that from the trial court. They appealed, and the Court of Appeal gave them that. To help us with the discussion this morning will be Abraham Amaliba. He's a Director of Conflict Resolution of the NDC. Kingsley Amwaku Boedu is a member of the MPP Communications team. He's a private legal practitioner as well. Justice Remsai is a lecturer is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana School of Law. These will be our guests for this morning. Franklin Kujo will join us as well. So, gentlemen, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I'll start with you, Abraham Amaliba. You have been on the side of the accused or the appellants. The matter has become so charged politically, or became so charged politically that, in fact, the minority in Parliament refused to sit on days where their leader was going to court. So that occasioned Parliament itself to sit at certain times of those days. Very charged political case. People thought that there was nothing Atuforsen did wrong. The prosecution thought otherwise. Prosecution thought that there should be accountability and transparency in how public officials discharge their duty, etc. Now, the trial was ongoing. This appeal was filed. Proceedings were not stayed. And so the two things were happening concurrently. Court of Appeal comes and says that no, the trial court erred in dismissing the submission of no case against submission of no case. And so they will set aside that decision of the trial court, and now the accused persons should be acquitted and discharged. As someone who was on the side of, or is on the side of the accused and the appellants, how did this come to you? Were you surprised at the outcome?
Well, let me say good morning to your viewers. We have always known that this prosecution was nothing than a persecution. We have always known that the charges brought against Atuforsen and Jakpa, more so Atuforsen, were politically motivated. And this suspicion of ours was backed by this audio, the audio that came up between Jakpa and Attorney General, where the Attorney General clearly indicated that he was under pressure by the President and Ken Oforiatta to have Atuforsen put behind bars. And so we've always known that if we appear before the right people, this matter will not go anywhere. And I must say that we actually appeared before the right people, the three people who sat on the case, 2-1 in favor of the accused persons. They just did not set aside the High Court's ruling on the submission of no case. But when you look at their ruling and you dissect it very well, they gave cogent reasons why they think that the accused persons do not have to stand or continue to stand trial. For instance, the most difficult thing that the Attorney General could not comprehend in this matter was the letters of credit, the LC, that was established. To the Attorney General, the establishment of the LC by Atuforsen meant that authorization of payment had been done. But when you read the judgment, the ruling, the two who ruled in favor of Atuforsen and Jakpa indicated that the establishment of the LC does not automatically mean payment is to be done. They said the establishment of the LC had conditions in that LC. Payment can only be made if those conditions are met. Now, who is to certify that those conditions have been met? It is somebody in the Ministry of Health. Now, if you want to ask who then makes the payment, the judge said that, the judges, the two of them corroborated each other, said that the one who certifies that the conditions have been met is the one who made the payment and not the one who established the LCs. And that for me is reasonable, it's acceptable, it is within common sense, because the finance ministry knows nothing about ambulances, and so couldn't have gone to certify that these ambulances are fit for purpose. It is somebody in the Ministry of Health who would then certify that the conditions spelled out in the LC has been met, so payment should be effected. And I think that rests the matter. Because if you listen to the conversation between Jakpa and the Attorney General, that leaked tape, the Attorney General was finding it difficult to comprehend what letters of credit means or what it is. Who is responsible for that? He simply was at sea. You notice that it was Jakpa who was rather educating him on what letters of credit, the effect of the letter of credit. But the judges, the court of appeal did justice to that matter and put it to rest. Again, there was the issue of authorization. And you remember one of the charges was that Arthur Forson did not have authorization to establish the LCs. The judges also dealt with it. They dealt with it in a way that even if you're not a lawyer, you would appreciate it. Because in our legal jurisprudence, he who alleges must prove. So, if you are the Attorney General saying that Arthur Forson, then Deputy Minister, had no authorization from his minister, Setepe, to, as it were, authorize or establish the LCs, then you, as an Attorney General, must prove. It is not for the one you are accusing to prove his innocence. This the Attorney General failed to do, in the sense that one would have expected the Attorney General to at least bring in Setepe as his witness, for Setepe to say that I did not authorize Arthur Forson to establish the LC. The Attorney General failed to, as it were, prove his allegation that Arthur Forson did not have authorization. So, on these two scores, I think that the court did justice to the issue of Arthur Forson, because these were the two things that Arthur Forson was roped into the case. Now, how did Jakpa also get his freedom? And that is, for me, very basic. As we speak, and I said it on a different network, and people didn't even know this. People thought that Jakpa had a hand in anything at all. Jakpa has no agreement with the government of Ghana. Jakpa has not signed any agreement with the government of Ghana. Jakpa is just an agent of a company that entered into an agreement with Ghana. Now, if you, as an Attorney General, feel that Jakpa has done something untoward, and you sue Jakpa, why do you leave out the principal? Basic knowledge. And here, the principal has not also disowned Jakpa's conduct. The principal, in fact, in the course of this matter, the principal agreed to even pay back the money they collected from government of Ghana, which is €2 million, They added some 7 million as well. That is 2.7 million euros. And then they can take back their vehicles. You refused. And that for me is what I would call as causing financial loss to the state on the part of the Attorney General. Today, with the ruling that we have, and with the fact that the two accused persons are now walking free, wouldn't it have been better for you, the Attorney General, to accept these 2.7 million euros and then ask them to take their vehicles back? Wouldn't Ghana be richer than you insisting that you want to put somebody in jail? And indeed, when you put that person in jail, it is a loss to Ghana because you'll be feeding the person. You'll be clothing the person. You'll be dealing with his medical needs. So, which is better? For you to have gone for the 2.7 million euros, or for you to insist that you want to prosecute them. And prosecuting them too, you put the wrong people before the court. These were wrong people you put before the court. So you could see that the whole exercise that was taking place in court was designed to target and persecute Atuforsen. It was not as if this was a real trial because Atuforsen had caused financial loss to the state. There was no such thing at all. And we're told in the audio that they are interested in having a by-election there, and that if they put him behind bars before 6 months to elections, they'll be able to have by-elections. All this played out. But I think that what the judges did, the two judges who distinguished themselves boldly came out and made those pronouncements, is a clear indication that we still have bold judges who, at the right time, would rise to the occasion.
That's interesting. I mean, we'll come to how the public should perceive the judiciary now after this decision and all of that. What do you make of Justice Alex Opoku's dissenting opinion? He says that to him, it was difficult to comprehend why letters of credit will not form, part of the means of payment. And he looked at the contract and he looked at the payment terms, which clearly, in his view, said that the payment shall be by establishment of the letters of credit. And so once letters of credit were established, in his view, the road to payment had been initiated. And so the accused, in this case the appellant, had something to answer or had something to say to the court in respect of how it went ahead, or he went ahead to establish those letters of credit, etc. What do you make of the dissenting opinion?
That for me is too simplistic to just say that because you establish letters of credit, payment, you've initiated payments. Because I indicated to you in my submissions here that in the letters of credit would be conditions that must be fulfilled in the letters of credit. It will tell you that you can only pay if these conditions are fulfilled. Now, day in, day out, the Minister of Finance opens or establishes such letters. But payment is not effected until those conditions found in the LC are met. And so, when you look at the majority view, which sits well with me, who can you say has effected the payment? Is it the one who established the letters merely, or the one who comes to certify that the conditions have been met? And I think that the one who can be said to have made the payment is the one who has come to tell the whole world that, look, conditions have been met, we can go ahead and pay. Now, to just say that because letters of credit were established, meaning that Atuforsen has a question to answer, begs the question, because if that were the case, why did they put in conditions then? Then they should have just taken the conditions out and say, pay But once the conditions are there, and there's somebody who is responsible for ensuring that those conditions are certified, that person should be the one responsible and not the one who established the letter of credit. So I think that it is too simplistic to just say that once letter of credit have been established, then payment is made. It's never done that way. Payment is not made until the conditions are met.
I see. Interesting. Let me bring in Kingsley. Hi, Kingsley. Welcome to the program. Interesting developments we saw and we are seeing from the middle of the week and all the reactions that have come. As somebody who I'm sure was really rooting for the case of the Republic, how did you take this particular judgment? Was it the outcome you were expecting, and having gone through or having followed the case, this outcome, how did this outcome of the Court of Appeal come to you?
Good morning to my brother and yourself and our viewers and listeners.
You're welcome back. This is The Big Issue on 97.3 City FM and, of course, on ChannelOne television. We're also live on Facebook and X. We are happy to have your comments. Just prefix or add hashtag The Big Issue to your comments when you write to us from social media. We'll be happy to read your views to the rest of the world. On WhatsApp, we are on 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996. We're looking at the ambulance procurement trial and the outcome of that matter in respect of the Court of Appeal decision, which essentially truncates the matter, and the court has declared the two accused persons and appellants as free persons, which means that the case will not continue anymore unless the Supreme Court says otherwise. The AG has served notice that he will appeal the decision of the Court of Appeal. We don't know whether he's not adult or yet. He has some time to do that. And so when he does that, and the court or the Supreme Court decides otherwise, then we'll have the accused persons back at the High Court. But for now, the matter is settled, it's done. Atuforsen and Japa are free men. They never caused financial loss to the state, and they did what they did. The Republic has not been able to make any case against them. Kingsley was on the floor making a point before we took that break. So Kingsley, you were saying that in matters like this, you try not to be personal, to deal with the matter in respect of the law and the facts. Yes.
Exactly. And also that when a matter goes to court, you expect two outcomes. It's either it goes in your favor or it's not in your favor. This is an appeal that went to the Court of Appeal. 3 justices, their lordships. It may be unanimous, it may not be unanimous. In this case, it was not unanimous. And based on that, and based on, I've read discursively some portions of what His Lordship Echampong said. And he's quoting from the Chachikata versus the Republic as a standard, as well as the Evans Asiedue Kings and the Republic, all right? And he's raising the issue of what is the standard. We all know of Ali Kasina as the standard for submission of no case. And then he's raising this, all right? I think based on that, if for nothing at all, the Supreme Court should pronounce on this, that what is the standard? Because there seems to be, and after the Chachu's appeal case, this is still a reported case in the Supreme Court law report of Ghana, where it's being quoted by His Lordship Echampong. And so I think there must be a final, driving a hammer to this net to know when it comes to submission of no case stage. You see, the standard, is it still beyond reasonable doubt, or can never be on the balance of probabilities? So is it a shade lower than that? Because, as I said, I went to court. I sat 2 times. I was in court. I spent just an hour there and left. And in those instances, I had felt that A3, in his approach in answering questions, had not assisted A1. All right. In one instance where he said that he has a beef to pick with the Honorable Satekpe because he's delayed payment and whatnot, and that even the the Honorable Minister, may God bless her soul, who's passed on, also
That's a reality.
Sharia did not also assist in this matter, you see. So it creates, because I think one of the cases was that there's no paper trail where an authorization was given to the deputy minister, all right? And so it creates the scenario that then indeed he had not authorized it. In fact, the substantive minister also was not in favor of it. Those are the issues that create. But remember, when it comes to the submission of no case, all this, the decision is before all these things being said. All right. So at that stage, I for nothing at all, I think the AG should appeal on that.
Very well. So
but if he's going to appeal on that, I'm trying very hard. It is not because they definitely want to see someone imprisoned. That I don't think that augurs well.
That was said in the audio. It was in the audio.
But please, let's not go into
said in
the audio issues. It doesn't
But
augur well.
The audio is
it's
part
a
of
key
it.
part of
Yes,
this,
but as to
this-
whether we don't see anywhere
No,
in
this
this
judgment, no, in this
where
we
it
don't see it,
influenced
yes,
it. Yeah, that's
yes.
what we're talking about. You see,
But the audio came after they opened their case.
precisely. You see, and the legalities of the audio and whatnot. I mean, that's out there in the open. So I think that pronouncement should be made on that. And then there seems to be this confusion about LCs.
But before you deal with the LCs,
Yes.
I mean, you've mentioned the submission of no case. You've all mentioned that.
Yes.
But to the ordinary person listening, I mean, what is the submission of no case? Why should somebody take you to court and in the end you will file a submission of no case? What occasions that? If you can
Okay,
educate
so you're taking me to my classroom then. I lecture. I think you still lecture, do you?
I've stopped now.
You stopped? Oh. Okay, I thought people both of us were lecturers. Now, so in criminal law, there cannot be an offense unless a law is passed making an act or omission an offense. All right? That's based on Article 19 of the Constitution. All right? Now, that offense must define, so that act or that law must define what the offense is. In defining it, it creates elements or ingredients of it. All right? And so there are some where you have 3 elements, some where you have 4. For instance, rape is carnal knowledge of a female of 16 and above without consent. So these are the 4 elements. So if you are charged with that and you go to court, your lawyer will be looking at these separate 4 elements, whether all of them are present. If one of them is not present, then Ali Kasina says that, then there's a submission of there's no case to answer, because before you convict someone, the elements must come together. If you look at Ali Kasina and then the subsequent ones, it says that if you are going to rely on circumstantial evidence, because these must be present, but if you're going to rely on circumstantial evidence, then the linkage must be so irresistible that it naturally directs the court's mind to one conclusion. You see, so if the elements are not there, or one of them is very weak, but it doesn't lead one directly to conclude the offense having been committed, then you file for submission of no case. So at this stage, and for an important matter like this, I expected their lawyers to file, and their lawyers are my great friends and very good lawyers. And so that you're sorry is someone I can just pick a call and call him for an advice on legal matters. Arthur Bassett, I used to work with him in the same law firm. He was, at some point, became a head of chambers. All right. Great guys. Eddie G, I've worked with him as well in the same law firm. We were there as an associate where he became a pupil, and he's now become a partner. Great guy. I've gone on to set up my own law firm. So, these are great guys. I expected that a case like this, I'll always be aiming for a submission of no case after the prosecution closes this case. And then they will dwell on the issues, Ali Kasina and all that. My issue is that the narrative that has come out of it has blown certain things out of proportion. And so based on that, I think the AG should still go to the Supreme Court. If their lordships at the appeal court are right, it will still be the same. Am I right? There should still be a majority. There are instances where the minority decision has over a period of time become
The majority
the
decision.
locus classicus. All right. I mean, we can say a lot about Lord Justice Denning in UK, several. All right. And so, yes, the door is not shut. He should do that. But let's make sure the narratives, one, does not undermine the judiciary, does not make it personal. Of course, the person standing in the box to him is going to be personal. Because his Article 14 rights, which are going to be taken away from, or has a chance of being taken away from him. So for him, it's personal to him. His lawyers also would have to feel the energy from him, so they do a good job. But when we sit on august platforms like this, the narrative that come out of, I think we should be a bit guided so that it doesn't create a dissatisfaction for a particular judge.
Very well.
When a judge is doing her job, it's a decision that has been appealed.
And the system knows that any judge could get it wrong. That is why they are layers.
Exactly.
So that if one
and
gets
we
it
lawyers also do get it wrong.
Exactly.
I mean, I haven't seen a lawyer who has never lost a case in court before. So the fact that the AG has lost at this stage does not call into question his competence and his capability as an AG.
Very well. So when we were speaking, you talked about the charges and the elements, etc. So these were the charges that were brought against Ato Forson. So count 1, statement of offense, willfully causing financial loss to the Republic, contrary to Section 179A, 3A of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act 29. And so the particulars of offense. So the particulars of offense here will say that Ato Forson between August 2024 and April 2016 in Accra, in the Greater Accra region of the Republic of Ghana, willfully caused financial loss of 2.370 million euros to the Republic by authorizing. The key word there will be authorizing irrevocable letters of credit valued at 3.950 million euros to be established, out of which payments amounting to 2.370 million euros were made to Big C General Trading Limited for the supply of vehicles purporting to be ambulances without due course and authorization. So there was JAPA, and also count 5 also says that intentionally misapplying public property contrary to Section 1.2 of the Public Protection Act 1977 SMCD 140. Particulars. Ato Forson between August 2014 and April 2016 in Ghana, or in Accra, in the Greater Accra region of the Republic of Ghana, intentionally misapplied the sum of 2.370 million euros being public property by causing irrevocable letters of credit to be established against the budget of the Ministry of Health in favor of Big C General Trading Limited for the supply of vehicles purporting to be ambulances without due course and authorization. So when Kingsley was talking, he mentioned elements, that there should be elements found in the offenses, and those elements must all come together to be able to convict a particular person. So in the case of the Republic versus Ibrahim Adam and others, the citation is 2003-2005, to Ghana Law Report 661. Justice Afre, JSC, distilled the elements of causing financial loss. One of the charges was willfully causing financial loss. He distilled that, and we have that on your screen now. And he says that the elements of causing financial loss were as follows. 1, there should be financial loss. 2, to the state. C, caused through the action or omission of the accused. D, intended or desired to cause loss. Or E, foresaw the loss as virtually certain and took an unreasonable risk of it. Or foresaw the loss as a probable consequence of his act and took an unreasonable risk of it. Or if he had used reasonable caution and observation, it would have appeared to him that his act would probably cause or contribute to the loss. So this was what the Attorney General or the Attorney General should prove. This was how, or this was the things he was to check in order to nail
the hurdles.
The hurdles
that
you have to cross to nail Ato Forson.
Yes.
But
I just want to simplify.
For some reason, okay. So go ahead.
Simplify the technical definition he gave in law, and to put in a layman's language, that you have brought some people to court, that you've charged them, but before you ended your case, that's the prosecution, you failed to connect them to the charges. So they have no case to answer. That's how it is. Simple as that.
Okay.
You send somebody to the chief's palace, it's the same thing. You accuse him of raping your wife, you end up not establishing that he has raped your wife. So the chief will say, he has nothing to say.
I see.
So that's how it is.
He has taken us to the
Yeah, so that's fine.
You didn't stop lecturing.
No, so that's fine. So we just saw the elements. And in those elements, I mean, there should be intent, which is quite basic. But looking at all of it, it does appear that the Attorney General, from the two judges on the majority side, said that the Attorney General could not prove his case or could not mount a proper case against the accused persons. One of those key elements was the issue of the LC, and another was the issue of the authorization of same, and that they failed to call or produce the evidence necessary to establish that indeed the LC was authorized or not. So the Attorney General failed to do that. How, I think he's addressed that somewhat. How crucial do you think that calling a critical person like Setekpe, because the accused says that he was authorized by his boss to author or to cause the establishment of the LC. Attorney General says he authored it or he had no authorization to do it. That was a critical point that the Attorney General had to prove. And the one to determine whether the authorization was given or not was Setekpe, who was in this country. And from everything, Setekpe was never called by the Attorney General to be a witness in the matter. And so the two justices felt that there was a major gap in the case of the prosecution, for which reason, the two guys should go free. How critical do you think the calling of Setekpe would be in proving whether or not Atuforsen had authority to establish the LCs or not?
Well, their lordships have placed importance on it.
But was it important, or they chose to place importance?
I think that my lordships have placed importance on
whether or not
Setekpe has to be called or not.
Okay.
All right. This whole issue about the LC, whether someone understood it and whether it was layman's term, LC guarantees payment. All right. And in these modern days, it is OPM that we use for transactions. Other people's money we use for transactions. So it's going to be money at the bank that we use for transactions. No one uses his own money. Okay. And so for me, whether it is the actual payment or a guarantee or not, the fact is that monies were paid. Okay. The fact, if you look at, let me take you to the last two paragraphs of Justice Bright Mensah. All right. Where he's parried the loss of money, the cause of the loss of money to the state, right? He's parried it to the Ministry of Health, right? Which tells us that there has been financial loss to the state.
That's not an issue.
Yes,
but
he's saying that in any event, as recounted supra, if there was any financial loss, economic loss to the Republic, the blame is attributable to the reckless neglect and apathy on the part of the officials of the Ministry of Health. That's very opposite. So it means that there has been financial. The fact that there was even post inspection rather than pre-shipment inspection is a big issue. All right. So we expect that the prosecution should lay that if he's bringing a charge against A1 and A3, he must connect them to that. Their lordships thinks that they have been connected enough. I am saying that by virtue of the fact that the shipments was done on the basis of an LC issued, the AG should appeal.
Okay, so we also know that LCs are guarantees for payment.
Yes.
And often there are conditions to be met before payment is released to the parties. And one of those conditions was that there should be pre-shipment inspection done by the ministry that has a technical know-how to do so. This pre-shipment inspection, we know, was not done. But the goods arrived and they were to pay upon citing the goods. So the pre-shipment inspection not done. Should Atuforsen and Co be blamed for the pre-shipment, for the lack of pre-shipment inspection, for which reason they should answer the call for causing financial loss to the state? So didn't the AG bring the wrong people to court then?
That's what our lordships think. The AG doesn't think that way. The AG thinks differently.
But you are a practitioner. You've done criminal cases.
Yes,
you have what it means to evaluate evidence and all of that.
But you see, that's what I was coming to. The amount of evidence at the behest of the AG. I'm only reading the judgment, which I'm listening to what was said in court after the submission of no case was unsuccessful. Right. So that is after that time. So that one I heard a lot of things, which I think, and I still insist that A3 did not help A1. If anything at all, A3's answers and in playing to the gallery and thinking he has to educate the AG on what an LC and all that did not assess his case and that of A1. But what was in existence and what has been proffered before the court before then, and what is available to him now, I don't know. All right. And so if he feels that they are connected to that occasioned that, he's entitled to his belief, and then he has to go after it.
If there's a precondition, that before I release the monies to you, I mean, there should be, before the goods are shipped, it should be inspected. You should inspect it. So the company says, okay, or we agree that I will inspect the goods before they come. For reasons like this. Now, it's time for the goods to be shipped. You are not there to inspect. Now, I ship the goods. The goods come. I have done my part. You release money to me.
Right.
So
I am thinking that before the money is released, inspection has to be made, just like you've said it. That inspection, is it solely that of the Ministry of Health, or the person who is actually paying on whose watch that money would be issued? Remember, there's a point where
ministry.
Remember, there's a point where
there's a requesting ministry.
There's an issue.
So the requesting ministry has a technical know-how.
Remember, there's an issue where there's a play on words as to instructed them and requested. So I don't think the finance ministry is totally absolved, so that because they are the ones who advise that it should be charged to the Ministry of Health budget, isn't it? You see, so then they are actively taking decisions as to where it should go, who should, it should be charged at, and so they should also ensure that they have done the pre-inspection before
the finance ministry.
An actor from the finance ministry.
An unnecessary burden on the finance ministry.
You see, that is why
there is a ministry who requested it, and I need the ambulances. You have to make the payment. So I need the ambulances. I have the request, I have everything. You just have to pay. So I have to make sure that the ambulances I want, and those ones, presented to me, meet the requirements. I don't do that. And per the agreement, upon citing the goods, you make payment. You make the payment. Why do I hold you responsible for causing financial loss?
Why is it
and
that
leave out the guy who requested it
why
in the
is
first
it
place
that we are
and who
saying,
failed to make the inspection?
Why is it that we are saying, we established in this court that the deputy minister could not have authorized it unless the finance minister?
No, but that's the order of things.
Exactly. So why? Because the person must also have oversight over what is happening. So if the person was reckless about that,
reckless about what?
About establishing whether this LT should be issued, as in against goods that are coming in. Has it been verified? Has it been all that? That I think is an issue.
The contract says upon citing
the what?
The goods.
The goods.
Precisely.
Payment is given.
Precisely.
The goods
but
arrived.
Yes, but the same thing. The same contract is saying that pre-inspection. I'm saying that. Let's not even delve.
Let's not even go into
the terms of the LC and whatnot.
Yes, we're looking at the appropriateness of the persons brought to court. Yes. Why do you leave the guy who failed at his job, who did not do the inspection? Okay, why do you leave out?
But that was A2, wasn't it?
No, that's
A2. He was the one they affected.
Exactly. But he didn't go after him for health reasons, I think. It was a health reason.
So then it becomes difficult to deal with the other two people.
Because the key nexus was was away, broken. So how
For
did you
health,
hold this
for
guy?
health reasons.
Yeah, for health, no problem.
Precisely.
so
So, it's
you're
not a
abandoning the-
deliberate. It's not a deliberate. It's not that he has made a
Granted.
mistake by beginning
Granted.
an action against wrong
Granted.
persons and whatnot.
So
You're saying
based on
granted.
that, granted, yes, I
So-
agree with
so-
what you're saying.
so-
But
so then-
you
so-
truncate the trial, the entire
Right,
trial.
let me
So
bring
so
in
then
Franklin.
you're saying that
You truncate the
that
whole
weakens
Let me
the
bring in-
position
of the AG.
Exactly.
I also grant
Yes,
that.
yes.
But that's not to say that.
And it's a criminal trial.
Yes,
To
exactly.
prove
But
beyond
that is not
reasonable
to
doubt.
say that then they actively took the decision to prosecute these two people for whatever reason.
Oh, but that one
No,
is
but
born out of
if
the
the
video.
main guy
the
who,
audio.
who you need
It's born out of the audio.
to nail him down is now being left off the hook for health reasons.
Yes.
It leaves the two, it leaves
Yeah.
nothing really
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
the
but
two
it
to
depends,
answer
it
for.
depends on what you have against them.
But now
so let him.
it shows from what we've seen.
For it shows from the.
But that's the law. now. That's the
Exactly.
that's the
But that is
decision now.
why he has a right to appeal.
Let me speak to
so that
Franklin.
we look at.
You guys are lawyers, so let me speak to Franklin, who's a civil society person and an ordinary person in that sense as well. Franklin, good to have you. Welcome to the program.
Him a lot. Frankly, I think we should meet one day and have some kebab or something.
That would be nice at your cost.
No, at his cost.
No, you issue the LC.
At this cost.
So Franklin, interesting times, interesting decision from the Court of Appeal. The two guys have been left off the hook or have been declared, they've been acquitted and discharged, they've been declared free. What's your initial thinking about it, and what is your layman's view about all the discussion that has gone on regarding authorization, LCs, etc., when the key persons, the judges say has not been called, etc. What's your layman's thinking about all that has been going on this week?
Well, good morning to your good self and my good friends in the studio.
I think you need to unmute, Franklin.
Oh, really? I've unmuted. Can you hear me?
Unmute? Okay. All right, so we can hear you.
All right. So good morning again to my good friends in the studio. Well, everybody knows my stance on this particular case. I've said time without number that this case should never have gone to court. I think it was politically, should I say, motivated. And clearly, from day one, it was as if Ato had caused this grave, should I say, financial loss to the state. What was intriguing in the course of the hearing of the matters was that I suspect, is there a suspicion? It was actually a fact that I think Jakba had offered to pay back the money, right? Pay almost 2 million euros out of the money. And if indeed, the Attorney General may have his reasons why he decided not to take that particular offer. But I, frankly speaking, just listening to what you guys just discussed right now, it was clear Ato had not, willingly caused financial loss, especially when he was more or less at arm's length when it comes to the entire transaction. However, I think I understand what my good friend, lawyer
Kingsley?
Kingsley. Yes. Yes, what he's actually, he makes a point though that look, sometimes we must also advert our minds to certain things. If you are the one paying for a service, especially when it's not your money, you need to be a bit more cautious, right? I think on that score, yes, maybe apart from the pre-shipment inspections and all of that, I think maybe the ministry should have also had some interest in the matter to make sure that, look, we don't procure something fake for the country. And I'm saying this because of the experience I've seen and had reading a lot of all these procurement contracts that are entered into by state agencies. Sometimes it's really disheartening. You read the terms of the agreement and you look at what has been purchased or what has been delivered, and you realize that it's between day and night. It's like the difference, especially with, it's that stark. So I think, upon hindsight, I would actually recommend that anytime the paying authority, especially the Ministry of Finance, is asked to pay for something, they should also ensure they alert that whatever they are procuring is actually what it is being procured. I think there's some fair amount of sensible arguments in that. But as far as this goes, this particular case goes, I think the state invested too much time and energy in trying to nail force. And the fallout essentially played out the way that everybody now suspects that the president had a hand in it, the Foriata had a hand in the whole thing. I mean, that doesn't bode well for governance at all. So it worried me greatly that the Attorney General was being very, very persecutorial instead of prosecutorial. And I wasn't particularly happy at all. It made me feel, made me lose a lot of respect and regard for that high office. Because for once, I was wondering whether the gentleman was actually interested in justice rather than, just persecution. So for me, I've never really, and everybody knows I have issues with him because of Sam. Anyway, he made certain very belittling comments in court about us, and that's the only reason why I've taken a position against him from day one, because I thought he was never a fair person who would really look out for justice for people who are oppressed. And so to see this Ato Forson's case go the way it went, and the way he was invested in it, then the other gentleman, the other MP, the NDC MP who, forgotten the guy's name, the Asinov guy,
just you quizzing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand that the AG is also acting on behalf of the states, but Charlie, sometimes you need to sit back a bit. I think I don't know what power does to certain people. I don't know. With a little exposure, I'm sure he would have probably taken his time before going after these guys as if his very life depended on it. I mean, we are in different times, He was acting as though he was an AG for a very communist establishment, like Putin state, KGB type of thing. And frankly, I was disturbed, very, very disturbed. So I was not surprised that the Court of Appeal decided against what was essentially a persecutorial, vindictive approach. I never been that happy. Yeah.
Very well. The importance of a person he should have called, according to the court, said Tekpe. Let's see what Justice Bragg Mensah said on page 79 of his opinion. It says that I am of the considered opinion that Seth Tekpe was a material witness whose evidence would have decided the case one way or the other. Failure to invite him was fatal to the case of the prosecution. So here's a case. The prosecution says that Ato Forson authored that or established letters of credit without authorization. If he was to get authorization, it would have been from Seth Tekpe. So the court is of the view that the best person to determine or decide whether or confirm whether indeed Ato Forson did so without authority was Seth Tekpe. And
yeah, but didn't we hear that there was some oral admission that Tekpe somehow supported the whole idea? Mm-hmm. For me, whether call it Tekpe or not, I don't think it would have mattered that much. Look, I don't think Ato acted on the frolic of his own. I suspect strongly, even if Tekpe had been called, he would have said in the affirmative, yes, I did that. Whether there was a letter to prove or not, he said, well, I said, just go ahead and pay. Because we pay so many big sums. What is 2 million anyway? So if it's for ambulances, we believe the ambulances will be bought anyway. So go ahead and pay for it anyway. So look, there are hydra-headed cases in this town as we speak right now. And Attorney General should be minded that Kearney GVG, for instance, Asla is paying $1.5 million every month to a shell entity that has not delivered a single paper. Just a money every month since 2018, he's been paying money. You know how much that comes up to? Almost around $78 million. Just a contract between her and then Ken. That contract was actually signed in secret, away from cabinet. A deputy minister in this administration saw it and brought it to me at midnight. That Charlie, you guys are the only ones that fight this stuff. And truly, we did. There are so many. We've analyzed procurement contracts in this country, about 1,000 of them. The report we published is online. almost 90% of almost all these procurements did not pass muster. Per the rules that now if the Attorney General wants to be busy, he should be busy over multi-million-dollar contracts that have been signed that are wasting away, that we are losing money, like somebody hemorrhaging blood from the body. So I was surprised that in the case where there was even an offer to pay 2 million euros back, this man said, I mean, why? So it made everything look like, look, whether this man was caught or not, at the end of the day, for me, I don't think it really mattered that much. But the elements of the case as it went on, you could see that, Charlie, this one, it's not as if Ato must have received some kickback, or for me, if it was established that Ato got some kickback, even those things are difficult to establish. But even then, assuming there was some remotest link to some interest he had in the case, then maybe, yes, you say that, okay, Charlie, the guy was waiting for his 10% or something, but virtually nothing. This is a just innocent man being thrown about simply because he's been very vocal and critical of the government. I don't think it is fair at all. It's one of the lowest moments of my good friend Nanado's reign. I mean, I'm so disappointed that.
I think his line is frozen. Franklin's line is frozen. We will re-establish that and get him to continue. So Kingsley, now this decision by the Court of Appeal is now thrown up another discussion about the independence of the judiciary. The claim from your side is that the opposite side. Okay, so Franklin is back. So Franklin, yes, you're making that point. So I'm just moving on to now.
Yes. I was concluding the point.
Yes.
I mean, the Attorney General projects a certain image of, win at all cost, against all sensible advice. Let's go for it. Let's go for the kill. I don't think a Minister of Justice should be casting that move. If you're a minister for some, hard-headed, you want to win corporates, something you win for the country and state, maybe yes, but in this case, it's where minority interest rights are involved. You don't do anything. And I'm not surprised. I was ending on the fact that SAR, which had been deliberately disenfranchised by this administration, I believe had the tacit approval of people like Dami. Apart from the comments, disrespectful comments he makes in court, tells me that he never even cared after the case, nothing to say that, can we even think about these people in a little regard? So he doesn't respect minority rights. He was using the law as a weapon to go after his so-called perceived enemies, including people who had nothing else to do with this establishment.
He would disagree. He thinks he's doing the work of the state and that he is working to get justice for the state and all of that. But
the guy is just looking for numbers, wins. Look at the disgraceful conduct over any. It was sad. I mean, I kept asking myself, what is this? I'm not a lawyer. Well, I read law as part of my lab in economic course for 4 years, but I didn't practice law. But you see, anytime I read some of these things, I go back to tort law, contract law, laws related to estate. I ask myself, what did I learn in school? What is this guy practicing?
Yes.
Charlie,
All right, great. I'll come back to you on your thoughts on the independence of the judiciary, given that one side of the divide has always been saying that they don't get justice from the courts, etc. This has been one that people like even former President Mahama have come out to applaud the courts and all of that. So I'll take your thoughts on that, but let me take your thoughts on this. So your side has said that the outcome of this case should put to bed that view that the courts packed by Nanado, will only give verdict which favors Nanado. Expatiate on that position for me.
So before I even get there, I think I need to react to what my friend is saying. Franklin, yeah, my very good friend Franklin is saying. I think practicing law, all right, when you've gone through the law school, so he's done LLB, right? When you go to the law school and you're trained and you're practicing law, it's slightly different from LLB stage. And that when you have a case, you must give it all that you have. That's the training. You must give it all you have. And that you must actually convince yourself of the guilt of the person before you prosecute. Otherwise, you cannot prosecute them.
But that must be done objectively.
Exactly, be done objectively. So if he seems to be serious at doing his job is rather a feather in his cap than to say that he thinks he's doing after numbers. I mean, we all want to win. It's just that in reality, we don't win all our cases. And so the seriousness with which he attaches to his work should rather be a plus, not a negative.
But
and
the seriousness should not be seen as persecution.
Yeah, but then that, you see, how you see, as I already said that, for the person who is being prosecuted is personal to him. All right? And so how you see it should also be objective. You shouldn't come across as the moment you see the Attorney General prosecuting something, the Attorney General is after someone.
Very well.
After
So deal with independence from here.
Independence as well. I've always held a view that let's not elevate our politicking, and politics is part of life, right? Let's not elevate our politicking into the judiciary space, okay? Today, my brother and his party are applauding the court. But even my brother's choice of words was that they went to the right forum. It's not even extended to the whole judiciary. They went to the right forum. So they have met, and some of them say brave judges. The fact is the law. The law is the law. Even then, there's a minority view and a majority. It wasn't unanimous. Okay, so that is not to say that the person who dissented was also not brave. This is his legal persuasion. This is his view on it. That is why at the High Court, when you want to appeal, it goes to 3. When you want to appeal, you now go to 5, minimum 5. It can be extended. Okay. Every day themselves, when they want to review it, they will extend it further because that's their legal position. Majority will win. It doesn't mean that we should now follow the attempt by my brother and his party to view the judiciary in a way. It means that when we bring these cases to court, we must make sure that we dot the I's and cross the T's. All right. Even in this matter, this Atufose matter, the first time we went to court, I had gone there with Kerejapong in the Kerejapong's matter. All right. And then when we got down, we saw a lot of, I think as the Fiashawa said that I think it wasn't this, was it? That was Ayaga's matter. If Ayaga hadn't come, she's given us a few times, and all of them came. So it wasn't as in a public domain with all the interest until the police of it came out. And that, I think, is dangerous to courts. Because
but the politics will always come.
It will always come. But we must make sure that in doing so, we absolve as much as possible, as much as we can. We absolve the judiciary so that we don't have issues or statements like unanimous 7 and things like this. Because if it goes in our favor, just like it's going in their favor politically and personally, the persons who was accused. The judges are supreme, they've done the right thing, they are brave, they are this. But if it doesn't go in your favor, we can't continue to be doing that, because there's a point where we will not have an AG, because once an AG is seeming to be doing his job, we attack him.
Very well.
And then the judiciary as well.
So Abraham, the talk is that we must be cautious about how we criticize the judiciary. The judges who, of course, I know about Justice Akaboafo. He was appointed to the Court of Appeal under Nanado's regime.
Sorry. And then you used a phrase, sorry for interjection, use a phrase, packing the courts. I think that we've dealt with that. The fact is that if there's a vacancy, it's the president who appoints. And so if someone reaches 70 at the Supreme Court, on that person's 70th birthday, the person ceases to be at the Supreme Court. The person has to go on retirement. As well as appeal court is normally 70, high court 65. 60 can be extended to 65. So when it happens like that and a person is the president, the person is always doing his job, he's not packing. The same way, we've had a lot of, let's look at this oil find. President Akufo found it, right? And it's found on his watch. The time of the first draw, the first drilling, it was at a Mills. Yeah. You see, so it just happens that he has been fortunate enough to appoint 3 Chief Justices because they retired, and then has also appointed a lot of the Supreme Court judges. I don't know if the person now, I think Justice Bafubone was not appointed by him.
No, so I think it's just Justice Bafubone now who was appointed by
President Kufuor.
There's no Atamils person on the bench.
Exactly.
There
Because
is,
they've retired. There used to be
yes.
Justice Benny and they've retired.
There is Poman, Justice Poman,
Yeah, that's
who is the only Mahama
President-
appointee
yeah, President Mahama, yes.
on the bench.
So
Apart
it
from
so happens
everybody
that,
else,
yes, exactly.
it's
But it so
not.
happens that even that some
But
that,
the
some that were
the criticism
appointed.
has been that the numbers have increased. The
Yes,
numbers
but
have increased. So
but
not
then I think
necessarily-
last week you were dealing with that,
Yes,
wasn't
not
it?
necessarily on the basis of retirements or vacancies. The
Yes.
numbers have increased.
No,
It used to
it
be,
has not-
it
it
used
has-
to be 13 or
Yeah,
so.
it hasn't
but now
increased.
we
So
are-
it is that there was an
we are-
application for them to increase it, and the
But
persons
he
are being
increased them.
the persons are being vetted now. Right, the two of them.
No,
are
but
being,
we are
being
around
vetted
15
now.
or 16 now. But it wasn't 15 or 16 before.
No,
it
it's
was
been
lower.
15.
It was around 13 at some point. But
Yeah,
that's fine.
it's
That
been
point
15.
is well made.
So it's
That
not
point
the
is well made.
packing; it's the fact that he has his job to perform
to
and he
do
performs.
exactly,
Yeah,
it's fine. So Abraham, like I was saying, now the courts are good. All of a sudden, the courts dispense justice. The courts are good, But if it had gone the other way around, it would have been that these are now those judges, and they were brought there for a cause, and they are doing the job of their master and all of that. Where do we draw the line now? Now, this same court, some of them appointed by Nanado Akabuafo, especially, who wrote a lead judgment, have given you justice, and we are happy and praising them. Where should we draw the line?
The view that if a president appoints judges, those judges will do the bidding of that president is also held and espoused by Nanado himself. Indeed, I heard him.
How?
I heard him, that's what I'm saying. I heard him talk about a matter during the Nkrumah regime. And in his statement, he said, but all the judges were appointed by Nkrumah. So that view is...
But which, you don't recall
I
the
don't-
exact
yes,
matter.
That's a specific.
You don't recall the specific instance.
I don't recall which case. But when I heard, I said, how?
But is that a factual? Is that a factual representation of the facts?
I want to believe that what he said was true, that Nkrumah appointed those judges.
Which is a fact.
Which is a fact.
But whether
Today,
the fact of their appointment influenced the decision
but when
is another matter.
but when he ends up by saying, but Nkrumah appointed those judges.
But we don't even know the instance you're talking
Yes,
about.
I know about it. I heard it.
But we
So
don't-
that view is held by almost the generality of Ghanaians. But what the judges do is what is important.
Okay.
What those who have been appointed do is what is key. And that is why the Constitution guarantees their tenure of office, to insulate them from all these things. So clearly, no president will appoint his enemy to the Supreme Court. But if you are privileged to be appointed, then you must now begin to wear your cap as a judge and do justice to all manner of persons. That is how I view this. Now, in this particular matter, we are of the view that, yes, these two judges who came out with the ruling, for us, are bold judges. Bold in the sense that we know how difficult it has been for judgments to go against this government under this regime. We know that. Sometimes the Supreme Court will wait when the matter is no more of relevance. You remember some two cases. When they brought a judgment, it was late. Take the case of the Auditor General, Dom Level. And then there was another matter, which had to do, it's a constitutional matter. These matters came, the ruling came only when they were of no effect. So people look at these things and begin to, say some of these things. But I believe that as a judge, when you are appointed by the president, thinking that you do his bidding, go there and be faithful to the law. And that is what these two judges have done.
I see.
But in the case of the Attorney General, if this were not persecution, how on earth would an Attorney General not know that you needed to include Big C, which had a contract with the government of Ghana?
But
how
it could be, he doesn't know everything.
No,
It could be an
no,
omission.
this is too elementary. No, this is too elementary.
But lawyers
How?
make mistakes.
How?
If it's a mistake at all.
This fundamental mistake that you are looking for somebody who has caused financial loss to the state, and you leave out a key personality or a key company which had a contract with the government of Ghana. How does the cause of financial loss arise? Is it not through a contract entered into? So why did he leave that person? And that is why we are saying that this is persecution and not prosecution. He's heading towards the Supreme Court. I know he has taken the defeat at the Court of Appeal personal.
How so?
Don't forget that his image was tainted at the trial court when those tapes came out. Now, he was even advised by the presiding judge, stay away. And this is a lesson to him, to stay away, because the judge foresaw what could happen, or saw that it was needless for him to continue to be in the matter. He could be in his office while pulling the strings. You notice that at the tail end of this trial, the issue had now moved away from the ambulances and was now on Jakpa's credibility.
But credibility is important in cross-examination.
Exactly. But what did he want to achieve by doing that? He wanted a pronouncement from the court which will indict Jakpa. Then he can now take solace in that and say that, oh, but when Jakpa brought the tape, the court said that he lacks credibility. You know? So he's going to the Supreme Court. It's all about getting his image repaired.
How about the Supreme
and
Court?
Not, when you look at the ruling, how are you going to overturn this? When you look at the ruling, Jakpa is not a party to the suit. You have brought it in. Where is Jakpa's interest in the contract? How are you going to get Jakpa?
Said he made a lot of money, about $700,000.
So what? But was he a member of? Did he sign any contract with the government of Ghana? The principal too has not disowned Jakpa. Jakpa earns from his principal. So if he made billions of money, he made it from his principal, but not the government of Ghana. And that is where the issue of why did you leave Big C out, which is key to this. And so the audio itself exposed the Attorney General. And so I think that he heads to the Supreme Court to repair his image, but I think that we'll wait to see what the Supreme Court will say. I see.
This is the big issue. We will take a short break. Now, when we return, we'll delve into the other matters. The EI to declassify Achimota, portions of the Achimota forest. Don't go away. You're welcome back. This is the big issue. Just gone by was the discussion around the Court of Appeal judgment discharging and acquitting Ato Forson and Richard Jakpa in that ambulance procurement trial. So we want to move on to the next matter, which is the declassification of the Achimota forest and the public fury that has dogged that particular move. And to help us do this, again, with my two guests, Kingsley Amwakwa.
He's a contestant, you don't...
Boedu. Is he?
He's the PC.
I'm not. No, he's not. Kingsley Amwakwa Boedu, who's a member of the NPP Communications and a legal practitioner as well. Abraham Amaliba, Director of Conflict Resolution of the NDC. Professor Martin Otin Abebi, who is Head of Geography, the Geography Department at the University of Ghana. And of course, Franklin Kujo, who is our regular guest on the program, is President of Imani Africa. Gentlemen, once again, welcome to the program. So we knew about the move to declassify the Achimota forest sometime in 2022, and a lot of that came up after the death of Sir John, who had willed portions of the forest, allocated to him to people in his will. And there was a lot of public discussion on that. The public, consternation and furor greeted that. And so there was ice was placed on that particular process. Now we are learning, indeed, it's the case that in 2023, another attempt was initiated to declassify some 260 acres of the Achimota forest, and same will be given back to the pre-acquisition owners, which is the Owu family. Now, just to provide you some updates, civil society organizations in the climate change space have called on the executive and Parliament to reverse legislation permitting forest reserve developments. The groups are demanding the Executive Instrument 144 and Legislative Instrument 2462 that declassify the Achimota forest and other reserves across the country be immediately halted to save the few and fast depleting forests or reserves left. The coordinator of the eco-conscious citizens, Awula Sewa, argues that declassifying forest reserves is not in the country's interest and must not be permitted to prevail. The EI 144 is in relation to some 361 acres of the Achimota forest land, forest that the government is returning to its custodial owners, the Wu family. So in 2022, when this matter came to light, the Natural Resources Minister, Samuel Abu Jinapo, actually threw some more light on the situation. So this is Abu Jinapo speaking in 2022.
We've amended the EI to give away the portions of the land which was acquired in 1927, which is not being used. We have not amended the EI to give away the Achimota forest. We've amended the EI to give away the portions of the land which was acquired in 1927, which is not being used for a forest reserve. And in actual fact, that act was done as far back as 2013. We have not amended the EI to give away the Achimota forest. We've amended the EI to give away the portions of the land which was acquired in 1927, which is not being used for a forest reserve. And in
All right, so that's Abu Jinapo speaking in 2022. The matter has come back again. Now let's speak to Professor Martin Oting Abebu, Head of Geography, the Geography Department at the University of Ghana. Prof, good morning. Welcome to the program. The matter of the Achimota forest appears to, at least in the last 2 years, has come up for the second time. And there are claims made by the Owu family, and the justification is that portions of the forest are not being used for the purpose, and so it's appropriate to return same to the family. Where do you stand on this? Hello, Prof. I think you have to unmute, Prof. Can you unmute, and so we can hear you?
Yeah, sorry for that technical edge. First, let me correct some factual inaccuracy. I'm no more the head of department of the geography department. I've moved on. So we have another head, Professor Charlotte Wrigley Asante, who is now the current head of the department. But be that as it may, look, the whole issue of this Achimota forest is just about giving the dog a bad name and hanging it. Whoever claims that the forest has not been, part of the forest has not been used for what it was meant for, should show the outline of which part of the forest was earmarked for forest reserve. It was a whole acquisition that was done for such purpose. But let's go back into history. That if you look at the size of the forest as it were when it was acquired, we have gradually been eating into this forest, obviously for personal reasons. But I just want us to caution that we should bear some few things in mind. That the world is becoming basically urban. And the urban share of the world population has moved from close to 30% in the 1950s to about 55% as of 2023, and it's moving on. It's expected that it should be between 60% to 66% between 2030 and 2050. And this has very dire consequences for human survival. There are a lot of theoretical things that have already been churned out. On your program last week, I talked about the question of urban heat island. And I want to
I think Prof's line is suffering some technical issues, and I'm sure we'll resolve that and get back to him. He was about giving us some important information. Of course, his point is that the world is becoming increasingly urban, growing from some 30% in the 1950s to 50% in the 2020s, and that it's important to keep certain key parts of it green. And so the forest reserve bit is very important. Let me speak to Franklin quickly whilst we work on Prof's line. Hello, Franklin. Once again, you're welcome to the program. The Achimota Forest, we've all seen it. We passed various parts of it. We heard in 2022 of the moves to declassify and give it back, some parts back to the family. There was a lot of talk that was suspended, and now we are seeing a new EI declassifying it by the smaller portion, about 260 acres instead of the initial 361 acres. How does it come to you? I mean, they say portions of it are not being used. So once they are not being used for that purpose, the law or the rule is that you give it back to the pre-acquisition owners, which is the Owu family, because they claim they've not been paid compensation. How does all of this come to you in view of the fact that there's the climate change discussion, there's a need to keep our environments quite green, etc. And this happens to be in the center of town where there is emissions, etc. So the forest serves a particular purpose. I mean, your thoughts?
Well, as a student of land economy, I think land use plan is always a good thing to undertake. But you see, there's nothing wrong if a minister believes that certain portions of land that have been acquired much earlier was not used for the purpose. I mean, it's allowed. I think our laws allow that you should then return the land back to whoever was the owner, and it must be done transparently. I think the reasons why people are suspicious, including myself, is that, politicians have divided up most of the prime lands in Accra and bought them for cheap, right? And that's the challenge we are dealing with here. There's a certain political avarice to acquire lands willy-nilly, even if people are not even connected to the lands back in Accra. It is obscene. It is annoying to think that people can just decide to demarcate a certain portion of land, and they serve as part of their so-called remuneration or package when they are leaving office. It is stealing. That's theft. That's plunder. Using the law to plunder a nation's resource. And so for me, and I don't trust whatever the minister is doing one bit. I don't trust it at all, even though I know, as my profession suggests, I studied it in land economy, it must be done. But we all know the stories around, look at the airport lands. Don't we know the stories around those Osu, and the people have been crying that the lands belongs to them. They never get the lands back. Look at everybody who is living around that area. Majority of them are politicians. That's even the annoying part of it. These are not productive elements of our society. I mean, you think that in those areas, high-end areas, you expect entrepreneurs who are actually investing in the economy.
But politicians they also have a role to play. They also contribute to the.
Well, the problem is that the politicians, unfortunately, the verdict out there clearly. You and I know that they've never really returned any serious value, except for the fact that the Ghanaian is actually a peaceful person. And so I think we rate politicians in this town too high for even our peace. Not at all. Look. Most of the decisions that politicians have taken in this Fourth Republic have negated growth, have actually instigated poverty, and actually, caused a lot more pain economically. And on top of that, apart from the avarice of criminal on the resources, they also want to be rewarded for all the things they've done. I know politicians on both sides will say, okay, well, look, Franklin's coming after us. And no, that's not the point. We know. We've lived this experience, haven't we? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So we've lived these experiences for the past, in a generation, over 30 years. What haven't we seen, right? And time without number, we are hearing stories of
people buying lands. I think Kujato and Kujato must have. It's not Kujato alone. There's a gentleman who is a Gan, by the way. What's his name? Passionate guy who has been fighting for Garlands.
Is it Prince Derek Ajay? Prince Derek Ajay,
yes. Prince Derek Ajay. And anytime I hear these stories, I just lament. Look at how lands, prime areas are sold for cheap for politicians. Even if a politician wants to buy the land, should they buy it at Donkomi prices? That's what I'm talking about. So I don't trust the minister one bit, especially all the things preceding this Achimota issue, right? So I'm putting all my professional analysis aside, and I'm looking directly into the eyes of these politicians and the things they're doing. Look at lithium. That gentleman minister is pummeling the lithium agreement through parliament willingly. Without having done a proper analysis, value for money analysis on the whole lithium agreement. Why? Just because a cabinet says, okay, run it through parliament, then he has to do so. So I look at all these actions and I'm asking myself, are these guys really real? Are they really interested in the interest of the people? Before I come to the climate conversations and maybe, spaces, I've forgotten the term we give it in geography, but I'll remember. Before I come to those conversations, I think it is just unconscionable. In any case, if this will be done, it should be done with the full effect of parliament and make sure that the so-called right owners are actually seen. If the right owners are not known, we must ensure that the lands are actually held in trust for the republic and must be used for greenery. I don't think we can put brick and mortar everywhere in this part of Accra. It's just annoying. I don't think the moment that thing is done, you can be sure that the so-called owners will be in cahoots with these politicians. They'll start selling the land like confetti, cheap, and nothing can be done to anybody at all. Didn't you hear somebody say willing some part of it forever to the grandchildren until eternity, until we all meet the Lord one time or the other? What kind of greed is this? I mean, how much can you eat? There's a Burkinabe proverb that says some are eating, others are watching. That's how we'll start. You continue behaving this way, one day people get angry, and I don't think people learn. Politicians never learn at all. They are not learning from the things happening in the neighboring countries. I think this land thing should be done. He can go ahead and do it, but we must all be vested in it and make sure that it is really, really, really true that the owners must receive these lands as compensation for all these years of not utilizing it. In any case.
All right. All right. So that's Franklin Kujo. The technology is not being a good friend to us today, but we are soldiering on. So Prof is back on. So Prof, I'm sorry about the technical hitches. You are making an important point about the world becoming increasingly urban, which you were trying to say was not the best of things, and so we should find a way of preserving certain green spaces. You are about giving us some important information on that when we lost you. So you may go ahead, sir. Hello, Prof.
You see all the landscape of Accra, and you see the only greenery you see essentially is this.
Prof. So Franklin, I think we lost you briefly, and so Prof is on. I will come back to you to conclude your points. All right, we lost you briefly. The internet or the connectivity was giving us a bit of a problem, but that's fine. So Prof, you may go ahead.
No, okay. Thank you very much. Yes, the internet has not been very friendly. The point I'm saying is that, and let me say that I share in the frustration exhibited by Frank, because it is very frustrating the way our politicians, who are supposed to be the guardian of our property, are recklessly dissipating the natural resources. It's worrying to the extent that we know. In fact, in time past, we used to talk about natural disasters in disaster science. Today, we know that no disaster would ever happen to mankind without man's influence, and that everything that happens to man has a role to play, even earthquake. If earthquake become disastrous, then man was not able to respond adequately, prepare efficiently for that exercise. So with that background, then we should know that the way and manner we are treating our forests, then we are heading towards serious crisis. Yesterday, I mentioned that in 1958, we used to have green spaces in the city of Accra. Green, solid spaces in Accra. These have been dissipated with ease. We moved to residential areas, the Ridge, the Roman Ridge, and all those areas. We've consumed that one. Today, we are going back to Achimota Forest with the pretext that we are going to hive off those that we are not using for forest reserve. And I'm saying that we have the LI, we have the original size of Accra, or the forest reserve, the compensation paid, every documentation is there for your take. Nowhere in that document did we say we are not going to use any part for forest reserve. But then I just wanted to caution that we are doing this at the peril of mankind. And I was explaining that we could only explain the excruciating heat we suffered the last time, but for urban mining. Urban mining here means where the periphery of the city becomes cooler than the city itself. And I cited the case of 2001 in Paris, where over 6,000 people perished. People have to be fixed to pool centers to get some cooling. So I just want to sound some, not warning, I mean, we should all think through. Really, what do we want to have in future? If we do want to have a sustainable city that we are clamoring for, then we should be able to look at how we handle this, our natural resources.
So yeah, you said that the real issue is a peril to mankind. But the question is, yes, that appears to be in the future, and a lot of people do not appreciate the peril you talk about. How do we bring home to the majority of the people the dangers of depleting our forest reserves and our green spaces? That connection doesn't appear to have been properly made. So people see it as something which is far off, or something which is even just academic and something not really real. I mean, how do we bring this home so people appreciate it? And once the people appreciate it, the people themselves will rise against officialdom if such spaces are being declassified or used for development purposes.
I don't think that is very far from, I mean, it's far from, as you want to put it. I just cited a case of last year and the excruciating heat that we experienced. So this is what happens. Once the forest cover is depleted, then we put up the roads, the buildings, and all that. You know that black attracts heat. So all the building material that we use would absorb heat. When they absorb the heat, they convert it instead of like if it were a white thing which repairs heat. This one absorbs the heat and creates heat within the system. That generates the heat island. Meanwhile, the periphery, so if you're walking around Amasaman, if you're walking around Kasua and beyond, the temperature is quite different when you are in Accra proper. The fact is that the leaves that are supposed to absorb the carbon dioxide that we all generate to reduce its impact on the ozone layer which creates the which affect the climate change will be nowhere. So we then deplete the ozone layer and increase our climate change, and therefore the heat generation becomes higher and affects us directly. Once the climate has changed, that once the atmosphere heats up, it also melts the poles up there. And that also increases the water level and leads to the sea erosion that we are suffering. So the situation where we see the storm in Keta, it's not for nothing. It's for you and I, our activities, that is leading to the rise of the sea, and that is impacting on our coastline. Indeed, the result is not far-fetched. The result is near. The impact of climate takes time, but the experience man will go through is now.
I see.
Got to a point everybody had to use fan. Apart from the fan itself generating heat, you have to pay for the electricity that you use. So the impact is rare, and it's now. It's not in the future.
I see. Great. So kindly hang in there for me. Let me speak to Abraham. So Abraham, this didn't start today. We've seen over the years, our green spaces being taken over by developers, etc. And now we are seeing the issue about the declassification of the forest. It started a number of years ago, but the EI, for the first time in recent years, was issued in 2022, EI 144, which was met with a lot of public disapproval. And now we are seeing it in a different form, reducing the number of acres. Why do we keep doing this? I mean, it's clear that we do not, we should maintain a reserve where it is. Unfortunately, that has been there. We've been going around the country saying we are planting trees, planted millions of trees, etc. Why are we destroying the reserve itself, for other purposes? I mean, I don't know how you see this as a politician.
That is actually the mind-boggling question, because year in, year out, even this year, we planted trees, and we pride ourselves of having planted how many trees, under the
tree planting.
Green Ghana, yes. So you plant trees, but you then chop off what is already in existence, Sometimes I come to the firm conclusion that the colonial masters love this country more than we ourselves. Because these sites were zoned by the colonial masters. They knew that in a city such as Accra, you will need a forest reserve. They knew the role that forest reserve will play. What the professor has not told us is that you will notice that when it rains, Accra is underwater. Just some 30 minutes downpour, heavy downpour. But do you know that all that water that comes from the hill, from Eburi, 90% of it is collected by that forest? And you can imagine if that forest is not there, all that water would then flood the whole of this place. Don't we think as a people? Don't we think? Accra is a low-lying area. You have the hills at Eburi. You see the water flowing. It's the Achimota forest that collects it. Even with Achimota forest, see how the water is, we're always inundated by floods. And you create a situation that they are the areas that where they are selling off or where they are declassified are areas that are not being used. How do you use a forest? It's to replant trees. Forest is a forest. And then if you let people
encroach,
go settle close to the forest, what do you expect? They will be eating into it. And that is why you come and say, oh, okay, then let's sell this portion. Then the next time, you don't give room between settlement and the forest and say that this area is a no-go area towards the forest. You don't do that.
I see.
And so for me, it's difficult for me to understand why, as a people, we can be doing this to ourselves. And I'm hearing that it's the Environmental Protection Agency that is championing this LI. And I say, Environmental Protection Agency, or is it authority now? What is your business? It's your business not to rather protect the environment. Look at their name. Environmental Protection Authority. It's now seen championing the destruction of forests. Did we go or did we come? We set up institutions with a mandate. Your mandate is to protect the environment. What business do you have sending an LI to the parliament and asking that some portion of the Achimota forest should be taken away?
How about the issue about, so that's one part of it. The land belonged to some people before it was taken. And the rule is that, or the law is that you pay them adequate compensation.
Look,
they claim that they've not been paid compensation.
The role that forest plays for me and you as a human being, no amount of money can equate it.
No, but
pay
yes,
them.
Yes.
We use money to do all manner of things.
So
pay the owners. Pay them off. Don't we? Why? The money we used to dig that hole. Huh?
Which hole?
The hole, the biggest hole in Ghana, in the world.
You mean the National Cathedral?
We have money, we can pay those people off. That forest, the way that forest, is intrinsically linked to our living standards in Accra. No amount of money can be equated to that. So what are you running away from? There's no excuse whatsoever. If you degrade that environment, you, me, all of us are in danger. There's no place that can absorb the heat in Accra. There's no place that can absorb the water in Accra, and we are all at risk.
I see. Kingsley, I mean, the new EI, EI 3234, appears to have reduced the number of acres to be declassified. I don't know what you think about the whole declassification thing, returning portions of the land to pre-acquisition owners, etc., and why government is championing this and all of that. I don't know what your views are on this. What are your thoughts on this, given the legalities, pay them their money, the environmental part of it, the need to preserve certain green spaces vis-a-vis climate change, etc.?
Thank you. I heard Prof talk extensively about environmental issues, and my brother has also added the fact that water is collected by the Achimota forest. I haven't seen any empirical evidence that suggests that all the water coming from the mountains are consumed by...
It may not be all, yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm saying all. I'm saying that even what comes in.
It's not a huge
part
of what I'm saying. I've not seen any empirical evidence concerning that. Definitely there's a need for zoning. In fact, we passed the act. I think it was under your government, 2016, the act was passed. Land spatial...
Land LUPSA.
LUPSA, yes. And so, and we abided by that. So definitely there's a need for zoning and forestry, the greening and all that, there's a need of it. I think we must extend, when it comes to environmental issue, we must extend the discussion to our personal lifestyles. And so that is why when it rains in Accra, for 30 minutes, there's flooding everywhere. There's a lot to be said about throwing rubbish and work that is done where we desilting the gutters and we leave it on the edges and it comes into it. There's a lot that has to be said about even our building designs nowadays. We all want pavement. It used to be grasses and it soaked the water. Almost all the houses are now pavement, as if to say that's a new thing. And so there's a lot to be said about that. That is why we are having environmental issues, and we all need to look at that. When it comes to the forestry zone, I think personally my encounter with it is a case I was doing where someone had used his house on the peripheries of it as collateral. And the person who is a judgment creditor or a potential judgment creditor is going to fall back on their house. It turns out that is in a zone. Because the person has no cause to fall back on that. You see, so for me, I think the peripheries of it, where people have, now if you drive around Kisiman area, there's a lot of development that have occurred over a period of time, and I will not lay that on the doorstep of any government over a long period of time. So those should be declassified for me. I think that is the natural thing to do.
Those ones are the peripheries.
At the
should be
peripheries.
declassified.
But there will always be a periphery.
So
No,
after
I'm
the
saying that
declassification-
those-
after
no,
those-
wait,
after that
wait,
declassification, what next?
Wait, you see, you were saying something very interesting. I was coming in, and you were stopping me. Now you see, you have something interesting to say. let's let it flow. You see, I'm thinking those on the periphery who have stayed there. Some of them have stayed for 20 years plus. They live there. That place, we are not going to bulldoze the houses and whatnot. So let's declassify.
But that's not
those.
just the place being declassified.
Yes.
The real forest.
You see, that's why I've been looking for the LI one. I think it must come with an attached plan so that we all look at it
There's a
carefully.
plan. There's a plan attached.
Yes, and for some reason, we can't find that. So that we interrogate it properly, so that the issue about whether it's government functionaries who bought houses in cantonments and whatnot, we'll devolve it from this particular issue and look at it and discuss it properly. Because, yes, I drive around that place each and every day when I'm going to court. The breath there is fresh and everything. There's a reason why it was zoned that way. So there has to be some compelling reasons why some of it is being declassified. That it is not before us. So we are only conjecturing that it's going to be shared among government officials and whatnot. But those who are there are not government officials or functionaries. Then the issue about the original owners, I think that has to be looked into as well. So far, one family has come up.
The Owu family.
The Owu family. I know of another family, the Odoikwa family, who's saying theirs also cut across some parts of it. All right. So that we'll look at it carefully. If there's compelling reason why some parts has to be declassified, we shouldn't clutter that with the fact that government functionaries are trying to buy properties left, right, and center. We look at these particular areas and whether there's a compelling reason why they have to be declassified. I am saying that the ones that have been occupied for a long period of time has to be declassified. Then, you raised a concern about living too close to it. I agree with you on that because I have looked at the case, and I'm not sure you're aware of it, Achimota School versus those who were close to it. It eventually went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court. The former Land Court won and now went to Supreme Court. I think it would be unfortunate for Achimota School to lose their lands. Okay? And so if we're looking at making sure the encroachment is dealt with, because Achimota, I think it's between Achimota and Gimpa. All right? That's where the issues are. If you look at both sides of the drive, where you're driving, they've been encroached. You see, so the ones that we can now plant the trees, yes. The ones that there are compelling reasons why we have to declassify them. Let's do so, and then remove it from the conjectures. Otherwise, then we veer into which one of us, which one of our parties.
I think Prof. Otina has a brief submission or interjection to make. Prof, you wanted to say something.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to correct an impression. First, the land was acquired and all compensation paid.
That's true.
I have documents from the 40s that I have it. So and newspaper have it. And I think that the minister should also have it. Like I said initially, it is just giving a dog a bad name and hang it. My good friend, the one who spoke,
Kingsley,
made a point that we shouldn't conjecture that it's going to go to government officials. Ordinarily, it is a good point. But historically, that has never been the case. All lands that has been declassified end up with government officials. And I can list a number of them. Those that were not even declassified were rezoned and given to government officials. So we have a basis for suspecting. Another point that I want us to also bear in mind, once people have encroached and you want to declassify, then come the next 20 years, you would have to declassify again. Because definitely people would, if you were with us in the urban space, on the motorway, 100 meters apart, there was nobody there. With time, they've put kiosks and what have you, and now the motorways, the buffer is gone. So the point I'm saying is that no matter what, definitely people will encroach on that small scale. So does it mean that we are going to declassify anytime people encroach? I don't think that that's the way we have to go. The truth of the matter is that Accra stands to suffer, and if you want documentary evidence, I can conveniently provide you some. Ever since the pediatric scab was consumed by buildings, Accra does not need 120 millimeter rain to get flooded. Because all the in 1962, Nkrumah had what they called a retention pond. They have earmarked 6 retention ponds at the base of the Kwapim Hills. All these had been consumed not by an ordinary person, by people with agency. That explains why we are where we are today. There's no poor man who can take, it will be pulled down with the speed of light. Those who are able to build are those within the government sectors. And this one is not quite different from what they have been doing over the years. I'm sorry for the interjection.
No, it's all right. I think it's useful. But you said you have the document. Does the document also say whether compensation was paid to the whole family or not? Do you have that information?
Yes. I'm very clear on that.
That compensation was paid to the whole family?
That the owners of the land. Let's be very careful. When the Owu's family came into the picture.
So not necessarily the Owu family, but the document clearly says that compensation was paid to the pre-acquisition owners.
Yes. And this is a British government document.
I see, great. All right, Franklin was making a point. Franklin, if you're still there, you were making a point before you went off. You may want to conclude on this. Okay, so Franklin, we lost him. All right, so you were making a point before he interjected. So the point is that yes, declassify, yes or no, but there are things we must do to prevent encroachment. Yes. If we do declassification today and we don't do those things, like Prof said, 20 years later, we'll be at the same place again. And the forest will be...
Do you know that the Tesano enclave and all that, you know, it was supposed to be the biggest sports complex, the sports stadium. All right, but by the time they go around to do it, there's been more than 250 people living. So they assume a human face and said that they wouldn't. There are a lot of places where it had to be declassified because of this. I'm saying that if there are compelling reasons why it should occur, it should happen. But that is not to say that that will be the avenue for people to encroach, hoping that eventually it will be. I think we should be strict on, you make mention of the Ramsar site, isn't it? Because that's an international, that's UN place. And then we should be strict on certain things so that it doesn't occur. But if someone has lived somewhere for 20 years plus or 30 years plus,
and we looked on for them to live there,
we can't just go and bulldoze their buildings and say, because it's, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, there used to be adverse possession before Act 1036 came, Act 32, right? Which says that you cannot claim adverse possession against the state, you see. But I think still, when you've lived, I mean, the houses there on the Kissiman, when you drive from Gempa to Achimota on your right-hand side, some of the houses are captured by
but you know, so Franklin made a point that he said he's training us. Is that Franklin or that's Prof?
Franklin.
Franklin,
Yes,
let me.
it's me.
Yeah. So Franklin, let me get him to answer this, and I'll come to you. Franklin made a point that his training as a land economist, from his training, there's nothing wrong with declassifying, etc. But the issue is about the lack of trust and the transparency in all of this. You will do this and realize that it's politicians who are gaining. Case in point, it was when Sir John died that we realized that portions of the forest have been willed to his people and all of that. That's just one person. We don't know how many people have these in their wills. You know, so that is the mistrust.
I will not touch on Sir John because it's no more alive.
And he's not here to defend himself.
Yes, he's not here to defend
you don't
himself.
Speak, dead men don't talk.
Exactly. So, but
there's documentary.
But we're all Ghanaians, all right? And what is Ghanaian must be protected by the Ghanaians, all right? So, I am saying that we must take the right steps, all of us collectively. When we heap it on MPP or NDC, do you realize that another topic was coming out as to when some of the parts in the Gulf House area was declassified by President Kufuor, there was an extension, all right? And so those who under their watch there was an extension are now crying foul. Now, then it becomes how much has your political actors taken against how much have my political actors taken. I don't think that should be the topic at all.
Great.
It should be that we look at it, properly and look at in the eyes of Ghanaians and for Ghanaians what should be done. And so then it behoves on us, both us, political parties, to make sure that the right things are being done, especially with this in mind. So that the likes of Prof, they have genuine concerns. We all have genuine concerns. I mean, they studied it, all right? But we only see the aftermath when it rains or when there's air pollution or things like that.
They studied it, but we are not allowing them to put into practice what they studied.
Yeah, but I'm saying it doesn't even, we don't even see it until something has happened.
Yes.
So we have to do the right things.
Very well. Let me hear from Franklin so we wrap this up. So Franklin, you are making a point. So you wrap it up for us so we make progress.
You know, Lawyer Maliba makes a good point that, look, if you are really interested in conserving the forest and green spaces, the best thing you should do is to buy back, assuming these claims are even legitimate, you should buy back those people's claims, pay them off, and then green the area. In fact, could grow more trees there. What's the use in spending millions of cedis on a day claiming you are planting trees across the country? And then a very prime area like this, you want to go ahead with an EI, to declassify it and then give it to some people so that the land becomes what do you call it? It becomes bear the more. I think it's important that those persons are actually paid off, if indeed they are genuine claimants, and paid off and keep the area green. That's what I think we should do. But I don't trust this process at all. I don't believe it one bit that it will inure to the benefit of anybody, including the country at all. Never. Very well.
Prof, your final words on this.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. I still want to refer my good Kingsley. Kingsley,
yes,
you know,
Prof.
there's an ongoing project, Gallup project, that is supposed to mitigate the flooding that we face in Accra. So the project identified from flood-prone areas around atomic energy area where they were going to use to make some pond to retain some of the floods. As we speak, all those areas have become built environments. And I don't want to mention names of those who have occupied those areas. So my point is that historical record tells us that it is virtually an individual affair than a corporate issue, and that the rate at which people are clamoring for government lands, it's mind-boggling. So it's about time we all decide to build the city that we want, a city where you and I can sleep without fan or an air condition, a city where we will not be swallowed by rainfall at 120 millimeters. Then Accra is flooding. For the first time, Legon got flooded. So it is not something that is very far. It's close to us. And it's our time that we think through some of our behavior to make sure we salvage the situation as early as possible. Thank you very much.
Very well.
Let me respond. Prof, it's not that I object to what I am firmly in agreement with what you are saying. I'm only saying that it should be done well so that we all benefit. Because environmental issues, they know no party colors. And so it must be done so well. That's the point I've been making.
Very well. So we'll take a short break. We'll return and look at the final matter before us, which is the DRIP project. The rains, flooding, yes, and that also leaves some consequences for the roads. And now government says that it has provided the district assemblies with some equipment, bulldozers, trucks, etc., to help deal with some of the roads when they get very bad. This is the big issue. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is the big issue, final lap of the program. This week, government launched the District Roads Improvement Program, DRIP for short. And I must say that when it comes to this administration, the way they brand and put slogans and names on things, top notch. So DRIP, 1D, 1F, one village, one down, DRIP. So the DRIP program, simply the District Roads Improvement Program, meant to improve the roads in the district, inner cities, etc. So that, before the highways and all of those guys will come to do the big matters and the bigger roads, small potholes, at least in the communities, should be able to be filled, and drivers or road users should have some peace on the road, as it were. This has come up at a time. This has come at a time where it is raining, the roads are bad, going into an election. People are calling for construction of roads and repair of roads, etc. So this is great, many have said. But also the other part is that the cost of this, we don't know. Why should the cost be a secret? Why should the minority go under the RTI to get the cost of this project? This government money or state money, public money, being used for this. But first of all, Kingsley, your party is in government. It's the government that is doing this. Great program by all standards. Can you briefly tell us what the intention of government is in initiating this DRIP agenda or project?
Thank you very much. And it's a flagship initiative by the government. It is, as you said, the District Road Network Improvement Program 2024. And it's aimed at enhancing road infrastructure across Ghana's districts, and the aim is to support sustainable economic growth and connectivity. I have driven across certain parts of Accra. You think Accra is a capital town. Certain parts of Accra, and boy, my shock absorbers and whatnot were crying.
Your shocks were shocked.
So it's good. It's a very good initiative, and the whole of Ghana, I believe, the whole of Ghana sees it as a very positive thing. It is. The partners are J&A Plant Pool Ghana Limited, the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, and District and a Common Fund, a Common Fund, and the Ministry of Roads and Transport, because you know that respond to the Ministry of Roads and Transport. The direct jobs that will be created are 4,480 direct jobs that will be created. And it includes positions for equipment operators, the mechanics, support staff, management within the district assemblies. And I am very glad and happy about the district assemblies' involvement, because they all fall under their mandates. The inner roads fall under their mandates. I live around a place where I don't want to say, place where the road was so bad that when you veer off the main road, it used to take you about 30 minutes to get to where I can call close to my house. They just did a road, and it's taking us 4 minutes.
Whoa.
And I keep on thinking, so what was it that 30 minutes? Can you imagine the hours that you can use your time for? The 25 minutes that you've gained, if you want to read a case, or you want to do anything. You see, so those are the multiply effect we have. Yes, the rains have set in. Yes, they've set in when we are getting to elections. Definitely, we are going to solve the people's concerns about our roads. We aim to solve those problems. So there's quality machinery supplied by G&A plant pool, which are to ensure that it's of high quality, it's fit for purpose. There's a Ministry of Local Government because people mistake the responding authority of a local, the MMDAs, to the regional minister. No, it is a minister for local government. And so they have to respond to him and make sure that things are done properly. And it is specific to a district because some of the districts will require more, some will require less. So we have to look at the specifics of those districts to see what needs to be done there. So that there's that, because if you, such a very important initiative, if you don't decompartmentalize it to make sure that someone has on the ground view of it, and it's always going to be at the central level ministry, there's bound to be problems. So we hit the road, we want to see some parts of it leveling. I've driven around Abokobi, inside Abokobi, and I'm sure several other places in Accra.
I went to a place called Boy in that enclave. The roads were terrible.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh,
Pantine and some
but
other places.
Exactly. When you're going from Oyarifa and you veer inside, it's amazing. It's amazing. And so these are teething problems we've identified.
People have raised issues about
the
timing. The timing. Waited all this while to do this. Elections, some 4 or 5 months away. The call for roads, etc. So this is to solve that, to catch votes.
You see, anything, let's be realistic, anything the government does will have political capital.
So,
all right?
So time it close to the election?
No, that's what I'm saying, that's what I'm going to. Anything we do will have, because you see, we came to the people of Ghana, the good people of Ghana, we made promises, all right? We are fulfilling them. Some of them have delayed, but the major ones have been done. Okay, you can name school feeding, free education and whatnot. All right, I'm saying that the major ones have been done now. So no matter when you do it, you definitely gain some political capital. So you can't say that is 4 or 5 months to election. So let's fold our hands. That will rather also work against you, that you even now you are not hearing the people's cry.
Because it's curious that we declared 2 years as year of roads, and we didn't see any of these interventions, or the idea has now come.
Oh, you see, we are allowed to think through an idea and to implement it. All right. If it happens that in 6 months of time, or a month to time, or even a day before the election, it is work that needs to be done that we are doing. All right. And then I think the second issue is the cost and whatnot. And I read it, and I think, well, why do you have to go to RTI
to get a cost?
Yes.
So why is the cost not out there?
But they didn't ask for it.
No, they did.
No, they did. The substantive minister said it's a good question to ask. You make it available. So you don't even need to go through RTI. That's what he said. That is a very good question, genuine question to be asked, and you make it available. Do you see? But it's not that so every little project or every project we come and account for it before we go execute. That's not like that way.
No, but for example,
there's
normally,
a place and time for accounting to the people.
If a road is being
there's
commissioned,
an auditor's
if a road
report.
is being commissioned, for example, the protocol is that you praise or you thank the contractor, the consultants, and all of that, and you say, I mean, the length of the road and how much it costs the taxpayer.
Yes.
So a major project like this, equipment have been procured to be distributed to people. It was just normal or usual that you would mention that this costs the taxpayer so much, so we know. Okay, but that didn't come, and it had to take the minority, employing the tools of the RTI to get that. I mean, they've not gotten it yet, but the process has been initiated. We understand.
Yes.
But that's fine. So,
but as I said, you do not initiate a project by accounting for it first. If there's a major road which finds itself in a budget, it is that.
Yeah, but this one has been done already. Okay.
What has been done?
The machines and equipment have been procured.
Yes, I'm saying.
So
that
by now you know how much it costs you to do it.
Yes, but the information, it's not like someone is withholding the information.
So because our information is that they tried to get it, but they didn't get it.
Oh, from
the
where?
From the district assembly's common
from where?
fund.
The minister said
from the ministry
you
and
make
other
it
places.
available. So let the minister make it available. But then to say that we should have known the length of the roads and whatnot. We are saying
no. I'm not talking about the length. I'm just
but you made
an example
yes,
that
so
if you're commissioning a road, a particular road,
exactly.
you
but
know
this
the
is
length.
not a particular road.
This you cannot know.
Yes, you can know.
Yes.
These are inner roads.
I just threw not in direct relation to this.
Oh, okay, because
this you don't know
because I had to clear.
There are issues that will come up
exactly.
every now and
so
then.
But
I wanted to also find out from you, how will the roads be determined? I mean, that this road is bad. How will they pick one road over the other? The people have to complain before the assembly
you see, that's why it goes to assembly. Assembly knows. Assembly is seized with, in fact, they are the unit implementing the special laws of Ghana, isn't it? And the community planning and whatnot. And so the assembly has to do its work.
And so the
of course, it will be oversight.
The
oversight of the
very
of the
massive equipment, 6x4 tipper trucks, water tank trucks, wheel loaders, machine, motor graders, etc.
Yeah.
These are high-level equipment. How would they be fueled?
There's provision for that.
They'll be fueled.
Yeah, there's provision for that.
How is that? How would that work?
There's money voted for the assemblies.
Till when?
So
till forever?
So, no. It's a yearly salvation that they will have to draw down on because there's money voted for assemblies. Okay, and of course you have to go through the process. You just make a requisition and it's granted and all that. You have to go. There are systems because you have the Ministry of Roads, you have the local government, then you have the MMDs, then you have the district.
Yeah. So this sounds nice on paper, but the experience is that. Sorry, I'll come to everybody, but he's from he's from the kitchen, so you should have a lot of answers. I mean, the experience is that government may budget for something, but when it comes to releasing, it becomes a problem. So we don't want a situation where maybe X amount of money is being budgeted for this, allocated for fuel or for taking care of the spare parts, etc. For this. Time comes to draw down, there's no money. So there's a road to be dealt, but there's no money to buy fuel. Part of the vehicles or machines broken down, there's no money, cash, liquid to purchase the parts. And so the equipment will be there. They will gather dust, rust, and that will be the end of it. And nobody really will be made to account.
That is not the situation. I'm saying the money has been voted for operationalizing this machinery already. Okay, for a period. I think it's for a year. After that, of course, there has to be review. Even at the local authority level, the MMDAs and MMDCs level, there will be a review of that before it even comes to local authority level and the Ministry of Roads, Transport Roads. And so there's money made available.
So money is not a problem. Money is a problem.
Money always is a problem because it's public funds, right? But it will be looked at properly, allocated properly, and you have to account for that. But at this moment in time, there's no situation where we say that this particular road has to be done, the machines are there, there's no fuel. I mean, that would be unusual.
Very well. So, Mr. Maliba, the great program, our roads will be fixed. I mean, year of roads extension. I mean, my community has potholes. Sometimes you have to go and use a longer route because there are potholes. We hope that those things will become things of the past. This surely is a great program that should have everybody on board to support it.
This program is not a new one. Growing up, I knew district assemblies had these facilities. Growing up, I saw those things packed in front of the district assemblies, particularly in Bolga and Tamale, where I lived. I grew up. So it's not something new, but they were fraught with some challenges. One, pilfering, siphoning of fuel. you got to a point where you needed to fuel the vehicle. An example is what we have with the ambulance scheme, where you are asked to pay for fuel before they can come for a patient, you know. So it is not about the provision of those things, but the implementation. And I am of the view that if we do not supervise well, we are likely to fall into the old system. Now, when this happens, then they will begin to auction these vehicles to themselves at reduced prices. That's what it happens in this country.
My brother.
You see? So, and you talked about whether it's a vote buying gimmick. Look, 5 months to election, people have made up their minds. These 5 months to elections, everybody knows where he's going to vote. Your circumstance will tell you. Now, these roads have led to people inhaling dust, and you are now going to construct them. And this is not actually tar roads, isn't it? They're just to grade, just to grade. And so, I do not think that that will get them any votes. I don't think so. They may be thinking that that will get them votes. But
if I live somewhere, like he said, it took him 30 minutes to get to a point close to his house. Now it takes him 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's relief. For me, that's all I need. People's needs are different in elections. So for me, that's all I need, and it's been done.
I'm not saying
no
that.
No matter the time it's been done, it's been done.
I'm not saying that that will not be a relief for the period leading to the election. It is. But that person will not forget the number of spare parts he bought all over the years before now you are doing. He will not forget it. And that person who will not forget it have made up his mind already.
But you know, the government cannot solve all the problems at once. There are some problems which will be solved.
And that is why government will win.
On the last day of the term.
That is why some people will vote for the government. So government will definitely get votes. But will this dramatically change the fortunes of this government? And I'm saying it's no. Because 4 months to 5 months to elections, people have made up their minds. And the project itself, for me, is also a project that I think that will be fraught with some challenges. Already, they are not telling us how much it costs. What are they hiding from? We would have to find out whether or not these equipments will be used for what it is. You saw an ambulance carrying cement, not human beings, cement. Whether
but that's clear an abuse, and that person also
exactly.
Be punished, yeah.
So whether the vehicles, the equipment will be used for what they are going to be used for. Don't forget there are galamsey somewhere, and those equipment can also be used for galamsey. Are you understanding what I'm talking about? So we need,
but
we
need
supervision.
Committee.
We need
there's
supervision.
A 4-member committee at the. There will be a 4-member committee at the assembly level, chaired by the chief executive with a member.
Oh, but the chief executives themselves are in the galamsey business.
48 engineers,
the
military.
The chief executives are in the business.
Engineers, and the highways ministry. There's the local government. There are all these reps in the 4-member committee. So
all that I am saying is that would we crack the whip? Would we crack the whip when these equipments are misused? That's my question. And these are the things I want him to address. And I've not seen that in this government, where the whip will be cracked when these officials misuse the equipment.
Let me go to Prof. Prof is there. Prof. Martin Otina Bebio is a geographer. He understands a lot of this.
Special.
This clearly is a good one that will bring relief to the people. What do you say to this?
Absolutely.
That's Franklin.
Yes, Prof.
Oh, Prof is gone.
Hello, Prof.
Am I supposed to be online?
Yes, you're online now, yes.
Okay. So thank you once again, and I don't envy Kingsley's position today. Ordinary, any intervention that seeks to improve people's livelihood is welcome. However, DRIP, as has been given to us lacks a number of issues, fundamental issues.
Can you bring this down so that make us
The point is that any policy that is not underpinned by research is doomed to fail. So, apart from the fact that we don't know how they came about with the number of tractors, payloaders that we would need, it is also not very sure how the distribution is going to be made. And how that is going to be managed at the local level is also not very known. I mean, it's not on paper now.
Yes, but Prof,
everything is about
not to cut you, but we
going
know
to try and error.
We know that the districts will get.
In fact,
some, Prof, if you could just allow me. So
from where I sit,
hello, Prof, can you hear me?
I see
can you hear
private
me,
sector hand in this business. And the same happened to waste collection, where we consigned a percentage of the district savings common fund for that purpose, going to a private sector. I'm not saying that involving the private sector is a bad idea, but when the circumstances under which he was engaged is a bit shrouded in secrecy, it becomes worrying. It gives accountability a big blow. It doesn't give the district assembly the power to control the exercise that they are implementing. That is where my source of worry is. If this is not going to be another scheme where, for example, today, government has virtually created a public monopoly for one person in waste management. My second concern has also been the one-size-fits-all policy that we are churning out. And that has been because there wasn't any, and I stand for correction, there wasn't any proper research to identify the various needs of the various assemblies. Mr. Host, for example, let's look at some demand area overseas. Their problem may not necessarily be the roads. How to cross the roads, I mean the rivers, the many rivers crisscrossing the constituency. How do we tackle it with this drip project? So my submission is the one-size-fits-all approach might not necessarily work for us. It's not that very late. We still need to go to the drawing board, try and understand each district's peculiar needs and address that same. Secondly, we also have to be very careful how we engage the private sector, because the private sector, it's not, and I repeat, it's not a Father Christmas. It's for business, for profit.
I see. Yes, one size fits all, good point made, but the assumption is that every district in Ghana today has some road somewhere that requires some assistance. Yeah, so I understand the point about the one size fits all. Maybe more emphasis should be placed on areas which have more serious problems of roads, and not every area has a problem at the same degree. That point is well made. But in terms of management of it, we understand a 4-member committee with persons drawn from various sectors, including the 48th Engineers Regiment, will be there to oversee this project, make decisions, and ensure things work. And that committee will be chaired by the district chief executive or the MCE. So it does appear that they have that side sorted. In terms of the distribution, we know that a number of equipment or machines, tipper truck, water tank truck, wheel loader, motor grader, roller, etc., will be provided every district in the country. Whether the equipment are ready as we speak, and so every district is going to get at the same time, we don't know. But we understand that the equipment have started going to the districts. So that's what it is, or that's what we know. But of course, your points generally about the research, about the one-size-fits-all and all of that, private sector hand, etc., well noted. Let me speak to Franklin Kujo. Franklin, we've all cried at some point about bad roads and all of that. We've also talked about transparency, in this project. Prof just made a point about private sector hand. And Kingsley also made a point about JA Plan Pool being a key part of this arrangement. Prof again talked about Zoom Lion. Incidentally,
yes, I heard all of that.
Yeah, JA Plan Pool is related to that and all of that. But I don't know what to make of this project. Great project by all standards.
Well, procurement issues aside, I mean, to think that the project itself is just going to be 4 months, we are getting to elections in the next 4 months or so. I ask myself, are these roads going to be done accordingly to plan, as in properly maintained, properly constructed, or they're just going to be rushed, so that once the rains come again, they are washed away? I think that's the challenge we have in this country. I mean, to think that we waited all this while to then add all these roads across the entire country and then decide to do them within the next 4 months, it beggars belief, really. Look, I live close to the, I live off the Achimota and Sawan road that is being constructed. Look at how long it's taking for the road to be constructed, right? Look at the challenges they're having. Are we saying that within 4 months all these things will be done? We've not been told the duration of these projects anyway. Or is it the case that they'll start the project and along the way, after elections, then the contractors will get off the project? We have a lot of questions to answer. So for me, aside the hydra-headed questions about whoever is getting the project, the procurement issues around it, the cost as well, which the government has never come forth with, I also ask the question, what is the quality of this road that we've built? And that's the challenge we really need to deal with.
I see. I think it's a project that has come to stay. So whether elections or not, the DRIP project will become an integral part of the assemblies, so that
is it in the plan? Did you see it in the coordinated plan of government action?
Not quite, but conversations around suggest so. Because like Amaliba rightly pointed out, it's not. He said it's not new. This one has been rebranded and named DRIP. That in the past there were bulldozers and things at assembly owned for purposes like this. Maybe it's just been redone to make it look nicer and properly branded DRIP. But it's something
I mean, that's all I can say. I wish there were, but obviously this will come back and bite us in one way or the other. You can't funnel all these hydra-headed projects through within a particular time frame. And I've talked about the quality issues, which I'm sure we'll come back and discuss next year. So for me, those are the worries I have about this project. It looks like a campaign, a political campaign stuff anyway. So there's no need. Let's not prepare it. It is what it is.
If they think this will affect them votes,
my brother Franklin has looked at the Pokwase Road. That's a major road.
No, that doesn't come under this.
Yes, and they're supposing it against. I think it's not to no force.
But he's talking about a program or
2 legs on this.
He is talking about a program
because that
I've driven
on that road, and the contractor came to meet a huge stone that I pitied the machines that were because the stone was like this whole building plus more. All right, and because he would have met his deadline, but that elongated it. And so that's different. Now, again, you see, he is already prophesying doom concerning this project. He said it will definitely.
He's making an informed guess.
Yes,
he's been at this for a while.
Yeah, but he's saying it will definitely come back to bite us. I think
because his questions are not answered.
Yes, but you see, we have always said this in Ghana. When there's an initiative or a project, we should be positive about it. You would have issues, you have questions, you are liberty to ask. And people like my brother are part and parcel of the political discourse and social inputs they make, because they ask prodding and incisive questions that will let you the person who have political power sit back and say, hang on, this and that. And so it's not like when, Brian, when you talk, we don't listen. We listen. I, for one, I listen very carefully because there's definitely an opinion that you offer that will make us consider. But please have a positive outlook to this. And it is not, it is not an election gimmick. My brother, you see, you are saying that this will not fetch us votes. The only thing that came to your mind is votes. We are solving problems of the people. That's what we are voted for.
Why don't you solve the dollar? Solve the dollar.
But we do not. We cannot solve. We cannot solve everything at the get-go. We now solve problems. You are shaky, thinking you will not buy us votes. Let the people themselves decide. Because when I am driving on my road, and instead of 30 minutes, I'm now doing 4 minutes when there's no traffic. I'm thinking, oh, this is a very good thing. This is a very good thing, absolutely good thing. And no one has bastardized this initiative at all. They're only asking questions about it. What of this? What of that? They see. So it's a good thing, and the good people of Ghana.
So for example,
will
the rules be given?
If it ends up with we getting votes,
so be it.
So be it.
Because
we are a political party.
Is it the officials or the staff of the assembly that will go and work, or the roads will be given out on contract?
You see, let's look at what the local authority will do. The local authority have because the end game of this, all right, is for the local authority, the MMDAs, to be able to manage roads independently without always coming back. Because some of the roads are really not major roads. It should be handled by them.
So the engineers there should be able to deal with it.
Yes, some of the roads. Because if we have, that's the 8 to 5 job. That's the end game, all right. But because there are no machineries and all this equipment, some minor bridges were not being done. And then, of course, it resulted in something big. I've seen, you see, one of the good things about this is that I've seen roads that there will be this small pothole. It's not dealt with.
Becomes big.
Then it becomes big. Then you see someone standing there, always filling that same pothole. I'm thinking about you just filled this. Yeah. So is it that, and some of them, they're actually digging from somewhere, so you don't know whether when we pass by, they'll come and dig it again, and the next day they'll fill it, and it's become a business. And well, kudos to all those who stand by the roads and help us. They're doing a good job. But some of these things we handle better, and this is solving that. And I think it's a major plus. And the people of Ghana,
I don't think that those people have a business standing by the roadside.
I know, I'm not encouraging that. But when you get there...
It's a clear indication of failure on the part of government. When you have people
let me give Prof the final word. Prof,
when you get there,
Prof, you have the final word.
The road has been done by you.
On the show today.
At times you lower your window and you tip them 5 cedis.
Yeah, because they're doing a good job.
Exactly, because they're doing a good job. So that is why this is solving.
Prof, you have the final word on this. Prof, you have the final word on this.
I was going to react to Prof, but I forgot.
No, see, you're carried away. So the final word on this. So we close. We are closing with your final words today.
Okay, thank you very much. My thinking is that it's never too late. I mean, in principle, it's a good policy.
Thank you very much.
But it needs to be worked out, and we can only circumvent and navigate the challenges when we are able to do, I mean, individual risk assessment and needs assessment and respond to that accordingly. Thank you very much.
Very well. Thanks so much, Professor Martin Otinga Baby, former head of the Geography Department, University of Ghana. You just heard him then. You've also been hearing Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa, and Abraham Amaliba, Director of Conflict Resolution of the NDC, and Kingsley Amakwa Abuedu, member of the MPP Communications Team and a private legal practitioner. Of course, Abraham Amaliba is also a private legal
and I'm part of the MPP legal team.
Okay, so a member of the MPP legal team. Okay, okay, great. All right, my name is Selom Adunu. Thanks so much for being with us today. I hope you enjoyed the program. Same time next week, we'll come your way with another exciting edition. Have a good afternoon.